Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. How we doing? How we doing? Welcome to Sunday Supper. We're just getting ready for our upcoming day. So excited you could join us today here, October 4th, 2020 for I believe this is our fifth iteration of the Sunday Supper series. We're going to be talking about several key issues today. Really excited about the show. Really excited to bring it to you. We're just action packed. I want to call up in a moment my co-host, the one and only Miss Tyra Beeman, who is going to join us, help us set the stage for the event. A lot to talk about today. As some of you know, this is October 4th. This is traditionally the weekend where the Joseph and Evelyn Lowery Institute for Justice and Human Rights, we typically do our October fundraiser, in which we celebrate the life, activism, and achievement of our namesake, Dr. Joseph Lowery. And this date holds particular significance for us this year because it's the first October where his birthday has come, and we're celebrating a heavenly birthday instead of an earthly one. And so throughout the show, we're going to be bringing on special guests. We're going to be doing a special tribute and having conversations geared towards not only talking about the life of Dr. Lowery, but how we can carry his message forward, right? How we can all shout in one voice this proud phrase that we all feel right now, that I certainly feel in my heart, which is, we got you. You know, you paved the way. 99 years it would have been this week, a heavenly titan that he has now joined his beloved wife in that chorus. And to both of them, I start the program with those simple three words: we got you. We're going to show you how we can live up to your name and your legacy. And I hope throughout the program today, you see that, you hear our voices, and our speakers will speak to this message and give you that thought. So with that, I want to come on and bring up my co-host, who's going to be helping me set the stage and helping me to resoundingly say, we got you. We got you. Miss Tyra Beeman, I know you're here. I know I got you. Hey, Tyra.
Blake, we're here again.
We're here. We're here.
And I think you missed a few programs. We're on our 11th program, just in case.
What did I
missed
say?
like
What did I
5
say?
programs. Maybe you weren't there for that, but I was there.
Did I say something other than 11? I must have been so excited. Just thinking about this day, October 4th. That's what was in my head. I said 4. Oh my goodness.
There
4.
you go.
No, 11. I was thinking 4. Forgive me.
You forgot all that blood, sweat, and tears from the last 5. So it's all good. It's all good though. I'll forgive you.
Thank you. How you doing today, Tyra?
You know, Blake, it is sunny outside, so I'm not complaining. But I think the reality, I actually had the opportunity to participate in a rally this Friday. If you all remember Uncle Gary from last week, I was able to participate in a march to the polls with him and a number of organizers in Richmond, Virginia. And it was interesting. I think one thing that stuck with me, we were chanting something like, we ain't scared. And I'll tell you, I got the moment. I understood what they meant by we ain't scared, but I'm very fearful. And I think if we don't recognize that the times that we're living in are some of the darkest or some of the most threatening experiences that we're facing, if we don't have some fear, I'm afraid we're not going to act. And so I say, and quoting actually, I believe Dr. Jill Biden this week quoted at a rally saying that fear is not a strategy, but organizing is, activism is. And so, yes, we recognize that we are living in a time of fear, but we're utilizing the strategies of organizing and acting in order to be able to address that fear. So for any of you all who are watching right now and feel like that weight of the reality of today, I am scared too. I am fearful, but we're using that fear to activate us. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, passionate times, right? I mean, truly transparent. We can't act like we don't know what's going on. You know, we have a pandemic going on. We have a pandemic of racism that we're still juggling from. And I know there are a lot of people whose emotions and hearts are conflicted now. Understand what's going on, the direction of the country and where we are right now. And I just want to say to them too, the same 3 words, but maybe a little bit softer. We got you.
Exactly.
We can do this. All right. And I am so excited. So let's get to it, Tyra. We have such an action-packed program, so many things to talk about. And if you see my mood go up and go down a little bit, it's just because I'm excited, I'm thrilled, and I'm passionate about today, but it's a little heavy on my heart. So I hope you'll bear with me
For sure.
share your love with me across the screen. We
Sure.
want to transition at this point, Tyra, if I may. I want
Please.
to pull up a little video that I want to share with our listeners and our viewers now. This is a video that was done by the Lowery Institute shortly after we lost Dr. Lowery. It was the Institute's tribute to him. And I want to use it today to set the stage for what we're going to talk about. So
Okay.
our tech team is about to bring that up, and we will share this with you. Please bear with us.
We can't hear it, Blake.
Seems like we're having a couple audio issues. I will say this is myself speaking, so I could fortunately
We
narrate
can cut that part
for you.
anyways. It's okay.
But you don't want to hear me speak. It's not about me.
I was thinking the same thing.
Let me swap this video out and bring
Okay.
it up live, and then we should be able to hear it. Bear with me one moment, listener.
Okay. Perfect. This is the favorite part of going live for virtual events. You never know when something's gonna work. It's great. It keeps you on your toes all the time. It's perfect. I love it.
It's fantastic. Here we go. That was near and dear to.
Just cut your part out in the first
one story that I always took from my grandfather is a story he told about a group of mice, but it's something that was near and dear to my heart. So I hope it sticks with you as it stuck with me for 31 long years from the time I heard my grandfather tell the story. But there was a group of mice and they were plagued by a cat, and the cat attacked them, and the cat would prey on the colony of mice and always took one every day. And the mice got together one day and they had a conversation and they talked and arranged a meeting to figure out what they were going to do about this cat. How were they going to solve this problem? And also trying to figure out what they were going to do about this cat. And eventually the mice all raised their voices and trying to come up with different solutions. How we're going to deal with this,
One of the little mice would sneak over into the university and hang around the classroom, and he picked up some knowledge and strategy, stuff like that. And he came back to the council of the mouse family and said he wanted to make a suggestion.
It was the young mouse. Came to the group and said, I have an idea. I have a plan for how we're going to deal with this cat. And the elders sat down and listened, and they circled around the young mouse, and the young mouse said, I know what we're going to do.
It's not that the cat is so swift. It's just he's so quiet. We can't hear him. When we recognize he's there, it's too late. He devours us. But I have a solution. What we're going to do is we're going to put a bell on the cat. Because if we put a bell on the cat, we'll hear the cat coming, and we'll know what the cat is doing. And everybody rejoiced. The entire community was so excited that they had a plan. We're going to bell the cat. Okay. One old mouse asked for the floor. And he said, I don't mean to be a party pooper, but I do have one question. Wonderful idea. I don't know why we hadn't thought about it before, but I have one question.
Who's gonna bell this cat? And when I look at all 39 of you all, that's the question before us all, right? who is going to bell this cat? And that's a story I took from my grandfather. And for years, I pondered that question. Who is going to actually bell that cat? And the answer is staring us all in the face.
All the challenges of life, all of these things, God has a plan. And God has given us the plan. And the question is, will you accept the responsibility? Who gonna lead the team? Who gonna bail the cat?
See, I thank you to my y'all's patience for some of the tech issues we went through, but I wanted to show that video and I wanted to show that speech, which is a speech Dr. Lowery made, and it's on YouTube, and we will post a link for you. But I wanted to use that to set the stage, because today it's as the more I reflect upon his life and the more I reflect upon how I feel and how I personally am dealing with losing him, that question never leaves my head. Who's gonna bail this cat? How do we deal with the challenges and the difficulties that are affecting us in life, right? And it's a powerful message to me, because what he's talking about, Tyra, is this idea of the moral imperative. And I'm not gonna preach. I'm not gonna preach.
Preach, Blake, preach.
I'm not gonna preach. I'm not gonna preach. Because I wouldn't do him justice if I tried. I want to share that message with you, because that is the question, Tyra, that I give to you. Because I know the answer. But who's going to bail your cat? And this actual real question is, what is the cat? You see, in the fable, it's a physical cat that's preying upon the mice. But see, in our time, whether it's this pandemic we've talked about, whether it's this idea and the problem of racism floating around, whether it's for you being a single mom trying to get the government and trying to get your rights, whether it's somebody who fears the Supreme Court and what's going on right now and how the impact that can have on their life, whether it's climate change. We can go all day about different cats that are attacking us in our lives, but it is our responsibility to figure out who is going to kill this cat.
The cat.
And that's what we're going to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. Open ears, open hearts. We're going to talk about belling this cat. And hopefully by the end of the conversation today, if you're not ready to raise your hand and say, hey, we got you, I'm about to bell this cat, then you have been listening to the wrong show today. And that's all I have to say about that.
Oh, Blake. Yes, Blake, come on. Blake came over there suit and tie. He is ready to preach.
I'm just thrilled. And I'm just so honored to be here. And so with that, Tyra, I have to move and we have to transition, because I want to bring up the first guest we have today, because this is a guest. When I ask the question, who's going to bell the cat? I know that our next guest is willing, able to come bell the cat. So
she's already belled the cat. Blake, talk about her. She's been belling.
May I talk about it? So today, right now, I'm about to bring up our first guest. She is the Chief Communications and Culture Officer at When We All Vote, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that's committed to providing information and resources voters need to safely exercise their rights to vote in November. This is Miss Stephanie Young has been dedicated in working towards voting rights, working towards combating voter suppression, has a wealth of experience and wisdom on the topic of voting, civic engagement, and combating voter suppression. She has worked in various communication roles, ranging from TV newsrooms to nonprofits, political campaigns, and including the highest offices of our federal government, the United States Congress and the Obama White House. I can think of nobody who could help me figure out how to bell some cats other than Stephanie. Can you come up? How are you?
Thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I am, you know what? I am being positive. We are alive, we are well, and we still have about 30 days. I think it's 29 days today until literally the most critical election of our lifetime. So I'm encouraged by conversations like today. I'm encouraged by everything you all are doing to help further Dr. Lowery's legacy and helping to stand in the gap of that great loss. So I'm encouraged. I hope you guys look well. I hope today has been going well, and I'm glad to be here to talk about voting.
For sure.
We're thrilled and we're so happy to have you. And I just wanted to begin our conversation just to make that natural transition, if I can, that natural bridge
Yeah.
between the legacy of Dr. Lowery and where we are today. I was hoping you could share with our audience just a little bit how your life experiences, including your work with the Obama administration, have brought you to where we are today. If you could just give us a brief insight into your.
Yes, I will be brief. But ironically, I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm at home right now, literally around the corner from Dr. Lowry's house on Adams Drive. So yeah, so I grew up here in Atlanta. My father pastored Big Bethel on Auburn Avenue for 12 years, and before he became a bishop in the AME Church, and then we moved all around. But Atlanta is home. So I grew up under the legacy of Dr. Lowery and his great mission. So yeah, I mean, I got into public service, honestly. I know that in order to really live your faith, you got to act on it every day. And it's not just going to church. It's not just, figuring out your own, I guess, prayer life or the things that you get out of it, but rather it's how do you live each and every day to make a difference. And I was really fortunate enough to get into political communications and was able to climb up through the ranks through, as you already mentioned, through campaigns, through working as a communications director of the Congressional Black Caucus and serving as the deputy communications director for President Obama's reelection campaign in 2012, and the inaugural committee and Democratic leadership, and it all led to me serving as first the associate communications director in the Obama White House for the office of the president. And then I got the privilege for the last year and a half of the administration to serve as the senior public engagement advisor, really servicing and working with the African American and civil rights community. And my work there was to ensure that, number one, Black people had a voice. Number two, they understood and knew all of the things that the president was fighting for on their behalf. And we figured out how to engage with them to make them a part of the process. Folks in government don't know everything. It's so important that it's a two-way street, and that we are engaging each and every day with the people who are living in the communities, working in the communities, leading in the communities, so that we're creating policies that work just for everybody. And then I got into the private sector. I needed a change right after the administration in 2016 when we ended, and left in 2017 and worked at BET. And I did corporate communications there, and then worked at NBC Universal Cable Entertainment. And that's when I saw all of these major corporations that can play such a really big role in how we talk about voting and how we talk about culture and how we talk about progress as a country. So it gave me a great view into that. And Ms. Obama called me over to be the chief communications and culture officer for When We All Vote, as it kicked off in 2018. And we were on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase voter participation in each and every election. This is something that's very, very, very really serious for Mrs. Obama. It's something that she's very passionate about. And we know that changing the culture around voting is a long game. But as we face the most critical election of our lifetime, it's all hands on deck. And there's so many ways in which people can join our efforts to ensure that not only that they're registered and ready to vote, but that their friends and family are registered and ready to vote too.
See, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about today. Not just this emphasis, right, on the election, but how do we change the culture, right? How do we change the attitude, the way conversation is had about voting? Because I feel like that's something that I personally watched Dr. Lowery spend all 32 years of my life. I'll date myself.
I'm a little older, so don't worry. Okay.
But I wanted to also just to follow up on that, just to ask you about this idea of communication, right? And what's going on with elections. Because I know you have experience. You've worked on the ground. You've worked in the White House. You've worked for the people who are making these efforts and bringing attention to voting. But what can we do to make sure that the right conversations are happening about voting, right? There's so much misinformation out there right now. There's people being told their mail ballots may fall into a creek or it didn't. There are people hearing that polling locations are moved. What can we do to make sure that we're getting accurate information?
Well, look, I'll say first and foremost, all of those things that you're talking about are a form of voter suppression. The way in which you can suppress voters is by confusing them. And inherently the process is confusing. Voting was never meant for you and I. It was meant for white landowning men in this country. And throughout time, we have had to fight for every single person to have an equal access to the ballot box. And we're still not there. So it's so incredibly important as we're thinking about culture change, as we're thinking about how we talk about voting. And I know that you've heard people say, it doesn't matter, nothing changes. The problem is this: we only talk about voting when we're about 30 days away from election, right? And when I say we, I mean the news, right? We have the media organizations who only tap in right before we get to that kind of brink of like, now it's time to go. We also have a lot of organizations that are working on it year round. Now we are a part of that don't always get, I would say, probably the attention that is needed to make sure that people understand what their rights are way early on. This is a process. It's a process that you have to be educated on yourself, right? Before you can go and help other people. And because we have dealt with voter suppression from terrorizing Black communities for decades and centuries, it's going to be really hard to change people's minds about this, but you have to be able to show them the connections. I think the connections between their vote and, what they see in their everyday lives. And I think that, the undercover blessing here with COVID, understanding that so many people have been impacted economically and so many people have lost their lives. But if there is a silver lining, it's that people can now see how every elected office impacts you, right? Whether or not you go to school, whether or not your children go to school, or there's social distance learning, whether or not your mayor believes in wearing masks to protect yourself, or if your governor says, it's not really serious. We now see with the fact that the president is suffering from COVID, along with all of those other people who are sitting in the Rose Garden, and we don't even know how many people yet, that it's real, right? And it's so incredibly important that every person that is representing you and your values not only believes science, but realizes that there's no like, I believe it, I don't believe it, right? So I think that we're at a crossroads here. We can see, and not just with COVID-19, if you take it a step further and look at the civil unrest and the consistent police violence that we're facing, the criminal justice system that absolutely needs to be reformed, and that we've worked on really hard to create better pathways for people not to go into the system. All of these things are impacted by your vote. And if for 1 minute you think it's not, then I don't know how to necessarily help you besides having these conversations. And they could be uncomfortable and they can be really hard. And I think that of people of goodwill, people who know better, right, are going to have to bring others with them. And they're going to have to talk about these things. And they're going to have to break it down as much as they can beforehand, before we get to these moments. And the reason why we're here is because we haven't been voting consistently. 47% of Americans voting in 2016, that is abysmal. That's not even half of the population saying what they want the future of the country to look like. But as Mrs. Obama likes to say, that if you sit out a democracy, right? If you sit out and you don't vote, democracy will move on without you. And you can believe and think that you're apolitical and you're doing something noble and you're going to make change by withholding your vote for whatever reason. That's just not true. You drive around any city, go to an affluent neighborhood, look at their sidewalks and their street lights and how the trash is picked up and nobody's dumping on their streets. They vote. And members of Congress and people who serve them know they vote. So we have to start having these conversations early, really early. And we have to consistently have them. We can't just talk about them during elections. We have to talk about voting all the time. So it's a long game. It's a long game that we're facing. And in addition to talking about it, we all have to band together to figure out the ways in which we can decrease the barriers to the ballot box. And that starts with legislation. I know everybody knows about the Voting Rights Act, at least you should. It's something John Lewis worked really hard on, in the 60s when African Americans were really given equal access. But that was gutted and so many bad things have taken place to really prevent people from being able to use their full rights. But we have to become educated first. We have to know what's happening so that we can have these dialogues. And I've said a lot, so let me be quiet now.
No, that's phenomenal, because you hit and exactly went to where exactly I was trying to talk about, because I feel like, and we've spent so much time this political season talking about, these voters versus these voters and encouraging people to vote, that a lot of the statistics that I've seen now indicate that majority of people have made their mind up, right? But there's a small sliver of people who are, and I've talked to some of them. Unfortunately, some of them are my students, and if they're listening, I'm glad you're listening because I'm talking to you directly now. Who will say things like, "Well, I don't want to," we're not trying to reach the voter who's saying, I don't know if my vote counts. Why would I, I sit this out. It's the same people, conversations about voting between two evils, and am I getting something? So to that voter, what would you say? To somebody who's considering right now sitting out because they feel their voice doesn't count or doesn't matter, what would you say?
Well, first, I would say that you sit out, somebody else will step in your place. Someone that does not share your values will vote for somebody and put someone else in office that might disfranchise you in a multitude of ways. So you will literally silence yourself and give your voice away. And if you think and believe that voting, you have to vote one time and you're supposed to see change, that's just not accurate. I think it's even slightly delusional. And I think that that's why we're here, because people think, well, I voted for President Obama or I voted for this person and I didn't see any changes. Well, that's because voting is a process. So to your students, especially to young people, you don't go to one class and say, oh, thank you. I have all I need. I don't need to come back anymore. I have all the knowledge. No, you invest, right? You go to class every week. You take exams. You are there, right? You're a participant. That's what voting is. You don't go to church on Sunday and say, thank you, Jesus. I got all my blessings. I get it now. I don't need you anymore. Well, at least I'll tap into you maybe if I feel like it. But now perform all your miracles and make my life great. That doesn't work. Voting is just like that. So you got to go vote each and every time. The mayor appoints your police chief. That is the person that determines how you are policed in your communities. So if you don't like your police chief, you can vote your mayor out. You vote for your district attorney. That becomes the person who will prosecute or not the person, the police officer, whoever, who shoots an unarmed African-American. So either you can have a say in who that person is, or you don't. You're a member of Congress. We'll either fight on your behalf and ensure that there is federal legislation or federal funding for not just education, but for housing, for infrastructure, for all of the things that make your life better at home. That person will go to DC and not think about you because you're not voting. So, what we know through research, it takes at least 7 touches to really get someone to register to vote. It's not just one conversation. And especially with young people, 23% of young people didn't vote in 2018 because they missed the deadline. And for those of you who are in Georgia, who are in Florida, and who are in Arizona, the deadline is tomorrow to get registered.
Let's make sure everybody heard that. So if you're in Georgia, Florida, and what was the other state you said?
Arizona.
The deadline is tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So you don't have a time to think about it. So whether or not you figured out what, if you're who you're going to vote for or all that good stuff, we can help you with that at whenweallvote.org. You can get registered with us. We also have a voting resources hub where you can actually go and see who's on your ballot and read about every person. You don't have to do this on your own. We're here to help you through this process so that you can make the best decisions for yourself. But I'm telling you, when you don't vote, somebody else steps in for you, and they do. And the reason why we're in the predicament we're in as a country, as a nation, and I'm sure that I want better for my country and I want people who support and represent my values. I want to feel like we're going forward. I don't want to feel like we're going backwards. But if I sit out, I'm allowing someone who may think completely different to step in and take my voice. So it's so incredibly important to understand the value that you have, the power that you have. And this is the one last thing I will say to anybody questioning whether or not voting makes sense, is that if it did not, okay, you would not have the whole entire group of people working diligently to confuse you, to stop you. They wouldn't do it because they wouldn't care about it.
Exactly.
They do not care. So that is how powerful you are. You have people that are sitting around scheming to figure out, how can we make voting more complicated? How can we confuse them? How can we make it just hard for people to do? Come on. Like that right there, we got to stop and we got to think about that piece. Yeah. And we have to think about, why are there so many of us, especially young Black people, who say it doesn't matter?
Yes.
Like, that's not it feels like programming to me. There's no microchips involved, but it really does. It's conditioning years after year after year after year to make you feel like it doesn't matter, and it's working. And that is what's really, really, really hard for me to see, is that there are so many people who are discouraged. However, we did see youth voter turnout increase in 2018. It actually went up amongst any other group. 2/3 of young people still didn't vote. So there's still a huge opportunity. We know at least 15 million people have turned 18 between 2016 and now. So that is a really huge voting block. And this is really the last thing I'll say. I feel like I'm talking too much, but the last thing I'll say is that this generation, okay, of 18 to 24-year-olds, of, Gen Z, millennials, we will be impacted the most. Everybody else, they got their education, they have their housing, they've had their, they're not, I don't want to be morbid here, but it literally, we're fighting for the future of our country because everybody else has kind of had theirs. So whoever we elect into office on the state level, on the local level, on the federal level, all of those people will have a greater impact on you than anyone else. So it's game time. And to your earlier point about mail-in voting and all the confusion that's caused there, I just want to address that because I know it is tricky for people. You don't have to send your ballot through the mail. You can actually go through a drop box. You can take it to your polling place. There's a lot of different options. And there's also a hotline that will help you. It's 1-866-OUR-VOTE, 1-866-OUR-VOTE. If you have any questions, there's lawyers literally 9 to 7 p.m. every day that are waiting to talk to you, to talk through any questions you may have. But do not forget, if you are able-bodied and you can, get up and go vote. And early voting starts, I think, October 12th in Georgia, and it starts pretty soon around that same time frame in many, many other states. So if you can physically go, get your little mask and go vote.
Thank you. Yes. And that brings me, I know we're getting up on our time, and I'm going to have to let you go in a minute, but I really wanted to push at the end, if we could leave one word with the people and one thing that they can take with them from this conversation. It's not only that we got you, because we got a plan. And I wanted to hear from you, Stephanie. Last words, last thoughts. What should people do? We know the deadline is tomorrow, but after that, what do they need to do to get ready for November 4th? How should they proceed next?
Well, the next thing you should do is that you should absolutely make your plan to vote. So whether or not you want to, if you do want to vote by mail, you got to get that ballot immediately. But you got to make your plan, and you got to commit to making your plan. So either you're going to vote by mail or you're going to vote early and in person. Write it down, put it in your calendar just like you do anything else. And then once you make your plan to vote and you are set and ready to go, and you've looked on Ballot Ready and you know who's going to be on your ballot and you're prepared and you feel good, you need to bring 3 to 4 friends with you. Do not do this by yourself. You cannot leave people behind. And not just your friends, bring your families with you. Bring your whole voting squad, as we like to say it when we all vote.
Squad.
We want people to squad up safely, and we want them to go vote. Just like I see people having brunch still, I see them at the little West End area down here in Atlanta at the beer oasis and sitting outside. And y'all can go vote too. Okay. Yeah. So let's make our plans. Let's bring people with us. And if you have some extra time, please join us and volunteer. We have a texting team where you can text people all over this country to show them and remind them how powerful they are, how powerful their voices are, and how incredibly important it is for them to use it this election and each and every election after this.
Yes. Your voice is powerful, and we have to make sure we're using it. Stephanie, thank you. We appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to come with us and sharing your wisdom and thoughts. And we got to do it. We got them.
We got to do it. If not us, then who? And I think I just want to leave you guys with this too, just in thinking about this. And when I was hearing you talk about your grandfather, and it's so incredibly important to remember how much people have sacrificed for us. And for that sacrifice to go to waste, it's just not fair, and it's not right. And as we think about our activism individually and raising our voices individually, I really hope that more of you will join us in this fight to ensure that everybody has the right to vote, ensure that everybody has less barriers, and that we're all able to make our voices heard, because we need some more people in the voting process as well.
Absolutely.
Ooh, Stephanie, you gave us that wisdom.
I hope I did. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Stephanie, I think you've given us an idea. We need to be registering voters at brunch on Sunday and Saturdays.
Yes.
We need to be at the grill. We need to be at all these places on Sundays and Saturdays. So if there's any members of the Links Incorporated, any members of sororities or fraternities, let's find our way to brunch while there's a line congregating outside and register those people to vote.
Register them to vote. Go to whenweallvote.org, and it's super simple and it's easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And to be socially distant, we can have QR codes on our iPads, our tablets.
Absolutely.
And allow somebody just to screen. Stephanie, you've given me an idea.
Good. I'm glad.
Let's do this. I'm ready.
I'm glad.
I'll give after too.
All right. I love that. I need one right now.
Thanks,
Nothing as good as brunch before supper. Take care, Stephanie. Thank you.
Guys.
Great. This is great. Woo, good way to start. Good way to get it going. Let's keep the conversation
An amazing way to start.
You feeling good? You feeling empowered?
I'm feeling ready. I mean, I voted last week, so I'm already like, I've done my job. But what she talked about what is our duty really of not only voting ourselves, but then going and taking other people with us. So I've checked my own box, but now it's time to I need to be checking boxes for other people too.
Yeah, right? You need to be out there bringing people with you, Tyra. I know you voted, but you didn't bring me. I'm just pointing that out there. I'll have to handle my own business next week.
I took my grandma and my mama. Okay.
Go ahead, Miss Beaver. No, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling energetic, but I think we can kick the energy up one more level. So I want to take a bit and pause to bring up our next speaker, who is an acclaimed poet, whose poetry has spoken and resounded throughout the years. I believe he started making his first piece in the early 1990s, but I have had the privilege of hearing this man, of hearing him speak, and his words not only resonate across time, they resonate across issues. And he is somebody who I had the pleasure of interacting with many times with Dr. Lowery, somebody who has walked with him, seen the mission, seen where we're trying to go. And I believe he has a word for us today that can help bridge that gap. I'm talking about the one, the only Hank Stewart. Hank, are you here?
Wow, man, I'm so excited. I don't know what to do. Tyra, wait up, man. Look, I laid my clothes out early. At church, I couldn't wait to get on here. I've been sitting here, Tyra, for about 2 hours. I've been sitting here about 2 hours. No, I'm kidding.
I feel bad.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But I just could not. Blake,
I'm so you don't have to get ready, right?
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Blake, I'm so proud of you. I don't know what to do, man. Woo! Blake, I am so proud of you. Your grandfather is smiling for sure. I saw you push him many days, bro. And you were getting it. You were getting it just by pushing him. Tyra, he was getting it. While he was pushing his grandfather, that wisdom was just dripping out on him.
I love it. Yes.
It was. I'm telling you. Every time, look, Tyra, every time something would drop, Blake will pick it up. There'll be more wisdom. Some more wisdom. Some more wisdom. Here's some more wisdom.
I love
wisdom. Oh, hey, Blake, I'm so proud of you, man. I'm over here about tears, bro. I'm so proud of you. Oh my God.
Trying to bring me there, Hank. I'm trying to hold it together. We have a 2-hour-long program. I'm with you, but I got to stay strong, bro.
I'm in tears, man. I'm in tears, man, because your grandfather, man, he meant, and your mom knows it. She's on, and your aunts know it. Everybody know it. Everybody know how I felt about him and how he felt about me. It's, he was something special. He was truly something special. He was so, Tyra, he was so bad that he was the first one. He was the first one out of the civil rights legends to pick to endorse President Obama.
Right.
He was the very first one. I mean, when it was not cute, it was not sexy.
It wasn't popular.
He said, "There's something about this young man." I remember he said that. There's something about this young man, and we need to look at him. And so lo and behold, he was always ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, he was. I mean, anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Listen, I can listen to you talk about my grandfather all day.
Man, he was phenomenal. He was.
Yeah.
I mean, he was not afraid to speak truth to power. Whatever. I challenge everybody on here, Tyra, everyone who's listening, go and Google Dr. Lowery speaking at Miss Coretta Scott King's funeral. If you had not seen that, that is one of the most powerful. Oh my God, it's one of the most powerful. And he did it with former presidents behind him, and he checked them. He was checking the bushes. He was checking them while he didn't care. He didn't care. He was going to speak
Unapologetic.
Unapologetic, Tyra.
Yes.
He was going to speak truth to power. And whether you like it or not, he was going to speak. I've heard him gut check the president of Delta Airlines. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean,
you got to sometimes. And look, Mr. Stewart, I think what you said was so powerful because, or a number of things you're saying are powerful. Actually, the sermon that we played earlier, Who Will Bell the Cat, in that sermon, he actually talks about something that actually matters a lot to me, about how Black women are also disproportionately impacted by the criminal justice system. And when a lot of Black men actually weren't talking about how Black women and girls are also impacted by the criminal justice system in a negative way, Dr. Lowery was one to name that.
Exactly right.
So that's why we're here today, to talk about this idea of what does it mean to resist, right? Resistance sometimes is talking about the truth when it isn't popular, right? And so that for us, and then leading to what does it mean to reimagine? What does it mean to reimagine activism when it's not popular, when it's not normalized? And then what does it mean to then recommit yourself to the struggle, even when we may have had a perception of something that was a bit different. And when we now have knowledge about it, we can recommit ourselves to that, you know? So
I love it.
That's why you're here, because you are a vessel of activism and arts, and you can connect with people in a way that I know Blake and I, we might try, but I know we can't connect in that same way.
Well,
thank you for joining us.
Paul Robeson said, "Artists are the gatekeepers of truth. We are civilization's radical's voice." You know, but when I think about Dr. Lowery, I think about Stokely Carmichael. Stokely Carmichael said, "It is the responsibility of the conscious to make the unconscious conscious of their unconscious behavior." Let me say that. It is the responsibility of the conscious to make the unconscious conscious of their unconscious behavior. Let me say it because I'm sure somebody, it went over somebody's head.
One more time.
It's responsible of those who get it to help those who don't get it, because those who don't get it don't realize they don't get it.
Yeah.
And that's what Dr. Lowery used to help us do. He used to help us get it. It was so many things. We would be sitting in the people's agenda meeting, and the bell, and he would just connect the dot. Right. You know, he would connect the dot. When he spoke out at Miss Coretta Scott King's funeral, and he got, Blake, you know, he's got death threats about that. I mean, he got literally death threats of speaking out about weapons of mass destructions and he called it weapons of mass distractions, right? And so he got death threats, and he reminded us one day. He said, he said, do y'all remember when the 4 little girls were bombed in Alabama? And you know, he said in the funeral, Dr. King spoke at the funeral. Do y'all know what he spoke about? He spoke about the Vietnam War. Right. You know why he spoke about the Vietnam War? Because the world was watching. He had the whole world watching. And it was the same thing with Miss Coretta Scott King funeral. The whole world was watching, and Dr. Lowery did not miss that opportunity. Man, I used to learn some. Man, he never missed a shot. He never missed a shot.
No, he didn't. He didn't. And Mr. Stewart, now the whole world is watching. So me and Tyra are gonna get out your way and let you do your thing with your piece. We're gonna step back. The whole world is watching, as you had said, and we are ready.
What are you giving me? What are you putting in my hand? What you're giving me has just altered. It has changed my plans. Why are you looking at me like that? There's this look in your eyes. Am I even qualified to accept this? Will there be a ceremony? Do I need cap and gown? Need I be baptized? I know you're tired. I know you deserve rest. How can I say no with all that you poured into me, all that you've invested? I'll take it. Okay, I'll take the baton. I'll carry the torch. You've earned the right to relax, the right to sit on the porch. I accept the baton and all the responsibilities that it holds. I accept the challenge to stand tall and bold, to fight for justice, to stay on the wall. I'll do what needs to be done. Yes, I accept the call. And integrity will stand with me, even if we have to stand alone, to speak truth no matter who's wrong. You fought the good fight. You've completed your assignment. Pass me the baton. Our souls are in alignment. I'll sacrifice my body just like you. I'll stand or kneel against racism, sexism, discrimination, regardless of the hue. I'll get up early and I'll stay up late. And when it's my time to be tested, just like you, I won't take the bait. It's my time to be tested, and it's my turn. My turn for all of my ancestors who were beaten, raped, those who were burned. I accept because on December 31st, 1862, our ancestors were praying to God on their knees. I accept for all of our ancestors who were hung from those trees. I accept because dogs and water holes didn't turn you around. I accept because our ancestors spoke up and spoke out, even when they didn't know the language. They didn't know a person, place, or a thing was a noun. I accept because you were beaten at the bottom of that bridge and you were left for dead. Broken bones, tear gas, blood dripping down your head. I accept because you sat when you had tired feet. I accept because the only way we could walk into that hotel was through the back door. It was not to wash, it was only to wash dishes, cook on the bed, change the sheets. I accept because America was built on the land that our ancestors tore. I stand because our ancestors' blood fertilized these sores. So if it rains, I stand. If it's hot, no fan. I stand with the weight tower on my shoulders, but the foundation I stand on makes me bolder. I stand for those who didn't get a chance. I stand for all of those men who died because a white woman said at me, he took a glance. I even stand for those brothers who look like me, but they've forgotten. Although our ancestors were side by side in the fields picking cotton. I stand for seniors. I stand for children. I fight for one. I advocate for millions. I stand for those ancestors whose dreams of freedom they would hold fast. I stand for so many of our ancestors who died for this country and the flag was never flown for them at half mast. I stand for those living on the bridges and sleeping on makeshift pallets. I stand because our ancestors knew our voices in the census. It was in our vote. It was in the booth. It was on the ballot. So yea, do I walk through the valleys and the shadows of death. It's about others now, no longer about self. Give me the baton I carry with pride. I won't let the torch burn out. The baton hit the ground even when I'm tired. You trained me. Now I'm one of your lieutenants. I take the baton from my ancestors so one day I can pass it to my descendants. I accept. Do you? You're muted, Blake.
No, you muted me, brother. I was just that wasn't me. That was the mute. But thank you, sir. Thank you for that, and thank you for sharing that with us. We're so grateful that you were able to come on with that. And
well, thank you. And Stephanie, I just got to shout out Stephanie Young, the young lady you just had on. She was phenomenal. She hit it, man. She was so on point. So I just want to say thank you all for allowing me to have Sunday supper with you.
Thank you. You are always invited back. So thank you.
Don't tell me that. I'll be here next Sunday too. I'll be there. Look, it'll be Tyra Blank and Hank show.
I'm here for it. Let's do it.
This is you all. This
is
you all.
See you next time.
Well, thank you, Blake. Proud of you, man. Love you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Great job, Tyra. Peace.
Thank you. Ooh.
Blake, I'm so touched.
That's the problem with Sunday supper. You start eating early, and you start getting full a little bit, and start rocking a little, and you're like, "Oh, I'm feeling full," but it's okay because we still have more courses for you, Tyra.
We do. The next, okay, so we know Stephanie was amazing. We know Hank was amazing. Mm-hmm. The next three people I'm going to introduce hit that bar. I think he maybe even exceed that bar because they are just doing the damn thing. They are doing the work, and they are young. They are individuals who've been able to pivot when times have gotten dark, when times have been have challenged them in ways that they didn't anticipate. And so these next three speakers, I call a few of them my mentors, call a few of them my friends. But I'm just grateful that they have taken the time to join us today. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start with introducing a woman who is incredible. Doing research on her, I actually didn't realize that, one, she is a soar. So, ooh, to this soar. But she's also went to school at VCU, which is my parents' alma mater. So we have all these connections. She actually also worked for the Urban League here in Richmond, Virginia, my hometown. And then she's truly at the intersection of policy, politics, and activism, because then she took the courageous step to run for office in New York for the New York State Assembly, and now is planning to run for the New York City Council. in June 2021. And so she is at this incredible intersection of what does it mean to show up as an activist, to be engaged also in understanding policy, and then also to run for office. She's the co-founder of an organization called The Nationhood, which is dedicated to educating and spreading awareness of policy, legislation, and social justice initiatives in order to liberate our people, the Black community. So she is someone who I think can very much so speak to this first question. And I think what Hank has really helped us understand are what are some of these threats that are working against the legacies of Dr. Lowery, the many giants that we've lost this year, as well as Fannie Lou Hamer, who actually shares the birthday of October 6th with Dr. Lowery. And so if you don't mind joining me, Natasha, how are you? Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
Oh, look at your shirt.
I know. I was like, and she shouted out the sorority. I was like, okay, they about to mention I have to do it for her.
You already know. See, we were already here.
Yes.
I'm loving it. How are you?
I'm good, and I need to like carry you along everywhere I go because that was such a wonderful introduction. I'm like, who is she talking about?
Anytime. I got you. I can record it and I'll send it to you anytime. But I mean, you've done so many amazing things. I got your number, I got your email from another organizer who does work. But the more that I read about you, I realized for what we have all these, we're like 1 degree of separation, which is crazy. So we're gonna talk later. But what I want you to help us understand is what are the threats that are working against the legacies of Dr. Lowery today? Obviously, we all know that we're dealing with a number of challenges, but what do you identify as the threats that everyone needs to wake up and recognize that are happening today in our lives in this country?
I really think there's a lack of cohesion. I think, which I feel is by design, right? Like separation equals domination and continued domination of power. So I think to the extent that we could understand that, yes, Black people are not monolithic, but we do have shared experiences and values. And when we come together on those shared experiences and values, we can really liberate ourselves. And so I think one of the greatest threats is like this lack of cohesion, this divide and conquer. This is the crabs in the barrel. Even if I look at like the current social justice movement, I feel like everyone's trying to like clamor for like a voice in the movement, but we all have a voice. And I just want to see us like all work together. And I also think intergenerational conversation. So we often go back to the days of Dr. Lowery and say like, oh, they did this, they did that. And truth be told, there are still people that are here with us. And I don't think there's been a good sort of synergy around intergenerational exchange. And I do think that's a threat because we need to sort of learn from our elders. And then the elders, there's things that they could possibly learn from us. And we work together to really, really strengthen this movement. And I really think that's something that's missing. I don't really see the sort of intergenerational exchange on how we all can like liberate ourselves and improve our condition.
For sure. You hit so many important points, and thank you for, it's almost like I gave you my talking points before we met today, because you actually helped me a lot, because the next person I want to introduce and bring to this platform is someone who is a friend, but someone who I think exists at this intersection of identities, who understands what does it mean to, one, be an immigrant, two, to be Asian American in this country, and two and three, to really understand what does it mean to work for a candidate who is a part of another generation, and to then work for a candidate that was supported by individuals of a different generation, but then to hold his own identities as a young person in this state of affairs. And so, Mahmoud, I want to introduce you and bring you to the stage with us to help us really understand what that means. Mahmoud, I hope you're there. Are you still there?
Yes.
There he is.
Tyra, how you doing?
Welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. When you asked me, there's only 3 things you can say to Tyra Buman. Yes, ma'am. Where do I show up and when? So it's great to be here. No. Yes, ma'am. And great to meet you too, Natasha.
Nice
well, we are grateful for you. And if you all don't know Mahmoud already, he is actually a Rhodes Scholar. We actually had the opportunity to meet, I think, when we were both competing for the Rhodes finalists. I think about that time. But you were working for Congressman Lewis. He's from Atlanta. So you're in this like crazy intersection.
I got to correct you right there because we have some people who are actually from Atlanta here. So I'm an
Okay,
OTP guy. I grew up in Gwinnett County. So
Thank you for the correction. But you know, something that and we were talking a little bit about this earlier. The first thing I think about, and this is related to what Natasha was speaking about as well, is Maya Angelou's quote of, "The truth is, no one of us can be free until everybody is free." Mm-hmm. And the reality is that we are constantly struggling with this. I think it's a unique struggle as U.S. Americans, where we need to understand and pay attention to, bring light to the intersectional identities that we all hold, but also, like Natasha was saying, be able to unify a collective struggle that we should be fighting against. And so for you and the identities that you hold, and I'm excited for you to maybe even share that with our audience, what does it mean? How have you been able to identify what should that collective struggle be? What should we be fighting against?
100%. So you just start, give a little background. I was born in Uzbekistan, a country probably a lot of people haven't heard of, halfway across the world. My father is native Uzbek, but my mother is Uyghur. So we came to the Atlanta area when I was 2, 1995. And then I grew up in Gwinnett County, which, you know, like I mentioned, is a very diverse place. You know, it's about a third white, about a quarter African American, and then the rest is, you know, divvied up between Hispanics and Asian Americans. And I just had, you know, a deep understanding growing up that if my family was going to make it in any way, if I was going to make it in any way, we didn't know anyone when we came there. So if we were going to be successful and have any kind of, you know, ability to integrate in the community, we would have to rely on people who were not like us. And being who I am, you know, I have an acute understanding that if I had only relied on people who looked like me, then basically I would have 3 people to go off of, and they would all live in my house. And so very early on, I had that understanding that we have to work with one another across races, across generations, across genders, to achieve greater social justice in the world. So it kind of came to a head in terms of how I got into politics and how I kind of think of everything in 2010. You know, prior to that time, I really hadn't been civically engaged. But that was right around the time when the Tea Party became big, if everyone remembers. And at the time, people were saying everything about President Obama in terms of him being Black, him being a purported Muslim, being a terrorist, whatever it is. And I knew that, I mean, that's the same kind of stuff that I heard. So even though I am not Black, I am Muslim, and people are using the same kind of attacks rooted in white supremacy to go after both of us. And so that was something that was personal to me, that kind of made me realize, you know, I may not want anything to do with politics, but politics is going to have something to do with me. So that's what really got me going and thinking that, you know, the central challenge we have in America right now, and frankly, I'd argue throughout all of American history, is that we do not generally care for other people who don't look like us as much as we care about ourselves. Right. And when it comes to this COVID thing, everyone's not wearing a mask. Sometimes we don't care about ourselves as much as we should care about ourselves. That's really what I see as the central challenge. And as the country gets more diverse, you know, places like Georgia are growing. It's not what it used to be. But, you know, even though the future trajectory looks different, it's the same kind of challenge that folks in Reverend Lowery's generation were fighting, and that is really to help us work together, come together to achieve greater economic and racial justice.
Right. So many important points that you named, and one that really struck me is this fact of the matter is, and I think Stephanie was pointing to this earlier, you cannot be involved in politics, but politics is going to be involved in you, in your life, right? And so, you know, Natasha, really quick, I want to hear, what do you consider resistance in 2020? I sometimes say resistance is just showing up as a Black woman in white spaces. My act of existence is resistance. But for you, Natasha, what are you identifying as your forms of resistance today? You're muted.
I realized that I muted myself right before I was about to speak. I was like, oh no. That's such an interesting question. And it shifted in this virtual space. I think what we're seeing on the streets, so I've been a part of some of like the protests that are happening in the streets. I think that's an act of resistance where you're literally stopping the flow of everyday life is an act of resistance. But I also agree with you. And I often say like just showing up in certain spaces, or not code switching. So maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I decided not to code switch. That's a very micro thing, but it still is an act of resistance. And so it doesn't matter if I'm in a boardroom or around a whole bunch of white folk, you still might get some vernacular that is typical of African Americans. And if you don't understand it, then we can explain it for you. But I'm not going to switch my language to make you comfortable. And I still can be very articulate and use other language. But if I want to throw out some vernacular, I am. And so that was my sort of mini act of resistance. I think hair, the Crown Act, which has passed. I know it passed in New York, it's passed in California, right? Like, I think hair, especially like Black women's hair, is an act of resistance for a very long time. I used to be very afraid to wear my natural hair. And so I've been very intentional about like showing up like this, because this is my natural state of my hair. And I think just being who you are in all spaces is a form and act of resistance.
Yeah. I love that. And look, I'm on that journey myself. I actually was looking at my LinkedIn picture, and it's me, for one, with longer hair, but two, with straight hair. And I'm like, I got to chill with that. You know, I have to let me take a picture with me in my natural hair, because that's how I'm going to show up in the workspace. They're not going to get that version of Tyra. I don't have straight hair every day. No, don't ever have it anymore. Right. And
I forgot one thing too. Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
The other thing, I started the New York City Black Women's Political Club, and one of the things that we've been doing, and one of the things that we say, we have these weekly Wednesday calming sessions to release, reflect, to regenerate our souls. I just had a prayer visual yesterday, and I think Audre Lorde, I'm gonna mess up her quote when she says like, sort of like healing is an act of political revolution. And so I also think that's a form of resistance when you intentionally try to nurture your soul as a Black person, right? We're dealing with so much trauma. 80% of deaths due to COVID in major cities were against Black people. We are constantly on the fringes of society. And so when you take that time for yourself to not be stressed and to release the tension and to practice self-care, I truly believe that's also a form of political revolution, because similar to what we heard earlier from Stephanie, it's like, well, folks want you to be confused. They don't want you to understand. And I think that's the same thing as like not being healthy. Like, people don't want you to be healthy. People don't want you to be mentally sound, because if they did, then they wouldn't have such oppressive medical practices and all of these different things that have affected Black communities. So that's another thing that I want to mention too.
Yes, thank you. So many gems. And one of the things, and I think you once again just led me to introducing the next person, because here in Richmond, Richmond's an interesting place. If y'all don't know Richmond, we're once the capital of the Confederacy. Not naming that, but I think it's important to recognize. But more importantly, we very much so were a capital of a lot of Black power, Black money, Black wealth, and Black ownership. And so the next speaker I want to introduce, Kelly Lemon, is a family friend. But most importantly, I think for me, she's very much so a role model, a woman who has resisted in her, just simply in her form of owning property, owning business in Richmond. And now she's created something called the Jackson Ward Collective that is dedicated to bringing, and like you're saying, Natasha, creating these spaces of healing, these spaces of ownership and power for Black and brown people in this city. And so, Kelly, are you there? Can you join us on stage?
This is so dope. But first of all, to see your face, Natasha. Hey, love.
Hey, Kelly.
First of all, you did name Delta. You did name DCU.
Clearly.
Yeah. I was working at DCU, and Natasha was actually a student there. And so it's so good to see you, and you have been doing amazing work. So I just want to say hello and keep doing it. Keep doing it. And hey, my bud, how you doing?
I love this space. See, only at Sunday Supper. Only.
Yeah, and I didn't know I'd have Michelle behind me today. It's been all good. Yeah, I've been taking notes because I'm gonna accept the baton to gather the mice, to bell the cat. Like I'm here today. I'm here.
Yes. Well, Well, Kelly, you already know. I
Yeah.
very much so look up to you, but I think one of the things that I was, doing a little bit more research on, not only so you've opened up this really cool cafe slash art space slash, I mean, just everything. A space, like Natasha's saying, is a space for healing, I would say,
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah.
But now you're owning this space to bring collectives together. And the quote that you said recently, I struggled when I opened Urban Hang Suite because there were people helping me navigate the system, but even with their help, it was an extremely difficult process.
Yeah.
And so being present in these spaces as a Black woman in particular, you are resisting, but not only that, you are bringing other people with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for you during this time of social injustice, during this time of social distance and virtual engagement, what does resistance look like as you had to reimagine your own engagement in these spaces?
I think it goes back to being very intentional about the audience to which I'm serving and I'm bringing up. Jackson Ward Collective was started because of the lack of resources, opportunity, and more importantly, capital for Black entrepreneurs. And it was just crazy to me to look around and watch this city of Richmond win in every category, whether it be food, craft beers, outdoor recreation. I mean, let's name politics. We are the capital of the state of Virginia, right? And we're making these national headlines, but Black people were still not winning like they were supposed to. So I think it is, being intentional of rising our own, when I'm asking for $1 million, I'm asking for $1 million for everybody. If I own something and I have an opportunity to place you within my business, that's what I'm doing. But it's about being Black and saying the word Black. When we started Richmond Black Restaurant Experience, to highlight the culinary experiences of chefs, food trucks, and restaurants, we were specific about Black owned, and people got extremely mad about that, and we couldn't understand why people were mad about us lifting up our own until the world understood that racism is very much so hitting us in the face every day, especially Black Americans. And, once people started realizing how unfair it was, then it was okay. So I really think that it's all about, making sure that we're intentional about making sure the Black experience is seen, heard, and felt.
Ooh, I love that. And there is power in words. There is power in naming that. And it was an amazing quote that actually was about you. And I have to read it because I think it was the cutest thing. The quote is, a little Black girl walked into a coffee shop, which was yours, and she stops and sees a Black woman behind the counter. With excitement and curiosity in her eyes, the little girl asks, "Do you own this?" I'm assuming talking to you. And then you respond, "Yes, what do you want to own?"
Yeah.
And so that is so powerful. And if you can maybe even just quickly respond to that feeling maybe that you had when this young Black little girl saw you and her. Because that's what it's really about, being able to imagine yourself in these spaces of ownership and power in our community. So what was that feeling like for you?
I felt like I was passing the baton. I mean, Hank said it because I am in Jackson Ward, Maggie L. Walker. If you don't know that name, please go look it up. But Maggie Lena Walker was a pioneer in Black entrepreneurs, Black commerce, just being a leader in general. And so you feel that energy, you feel that vibe, you feel that need to pass that torch on. So I was very intentional about where I wanted my business to be, what area. And I knew I could own there because our ancestors owned there. And if they could do it, come on.
We can too. Exactly.
You really couldn't tell me anything. And so I stand on Maggie's shoulders. And when, I'm standing on her shoulders and I'm looking at the next girl, it was nothing for me to say, young woman, young Black woman, what do you want to own? And let's start it now. Yeah, let's start it right now.
I think
waiting for.
Right.
Yeah. Young Black woman, what do you want to own? And let's start it now. Unfortunately, our parents, they worked very, very hard at a job that they probably didn't like, right? right? And so now here we are. We went to school. We know what we love. Let it pay you. So why not teach the future to love their passions enough to let them pay them? Work for yourself. Yeah, work.
I love it. And building on that point, and Mahmoud, I would love to hear. I mean, you've been literally around the world. You've organized and connected with activists around this country in spaces globally. And in your mind, who are those people who are carrying the torch? As Kelly said, the baton is being passed, whether we like it or not. That's the reality. And that's really, as we honor Dr. Lowery's legacy and hold up his legacy and all of the other giants who have passed away this year, we know the baton is in our hands. Now, the question is, will you run? Will you take it to the next checkpoint? And so, Mahmoud, can you talk to us about who have you been identifying as the people who are carrying that torch?
This may not be the most satisfying answer, but honestly, young people and young people everywhere across the world. And, obviously I see in the context of our campaign who we have showing up, registering folks who we have going out there and volunteering and bringing people to the polls. But it's much broader than that. And I think, starting with the COVID crisis and then the racial crisis this summer, I live in Philadelphia right now. And so every day, it seems, we have young people out there leading protests, talking about economic justice, talking about racial justice. And so I don't want to, obviously I would count you in that category. I would count everyone that we've had, speaking before today. But really, it's not even individuals that necessarily make me the most motivated, but just the collective energy that we've seen from folks in all different kinds of sectors. I mean, you see what's happening with the NBA right now and all the players that are stepping up to, run several organizations and push the NBA to make, systemic changes, making sure that they use their arenas as polling places so that, folks can get out there and vote early. So I think that's a special part of it. It's not something, this push is not something that is centered around individuals that lift themselves up. It's really seeing how everyone across every sector of society is finding their role in it. Yeah.
Well, and digging a little bit deeper into that, in this idea, and maybe it's the Spellman in me, but I always, when talking about issues, have to talk about what does it mean to live in an intersectional or live with intersectional identities. And I'm interested in hearing your perspective on what does it mean for someone who holds intersectional identities and may not see themselves in a candidate or may not hear the issues that matter most to them talked about on the debate stage. Why should this election matter to them if they don't see themselves, if they don't hear the issues that matter most to them actually talked about?
Exactly. I think, so I have kind of two ways of thinking about it, and they may seem like they're discordant with one another, but I'll explain it. Number one, and I think I'll speak for Vice President Biden and about him, but I think this should be and is true for many other candidates. No matter who you are, but especially if you are a white man, people are not going to see themselves in you across the board, and you are not going to necessarily have the kind of background where you get where everyone is coming from. And I think particularly for someone who's been around for a while and who's been in the United States Senate for 36 years and has been vice president for 8 years and now is running for president, you are not going to see things the way that, increasingly the energy behind a lot of these movements is coming from. What you do need, and what I'm very proud of Vice President Biden for, and why I'm happy to work for him, is that he has a lot of humility. And across the board, we have leaders who are demonstrating humility and demonstrating that, I'm a little older. I come from a certain place. I've done a certain kind of thing. I need to listen to and surround myself with people who are different from me, right? And at a certain point, I think that has to be a baseline expectation of any public servant, not just someone that's running for president or senate or anything like that. So I was thinking about it from the campaign side. Kind of putting the impetus back on all of us, people who aren't necessarily at the top there. It's kind of what Ms. Stephanie had talked about earlier. If you don't engage, if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't put yourself into the process, someone else will. And so I think we talk a lot about rights. We talk a lot about, why aren't X group of people listening to me? Why aren't they paying attention to me? Well, the bottom line analysis for most candidates is they want to win. And as a result of that, they're going to do whatever they need to do to get 50% plus one. They will find the people to do that. if you want your voice to count, we need to take it upon ourselves to say, what I'm doing is not just a right, but a responsibility, right? And I need to step up and make sure that my community is represented. The issues that I think are important are represented. And I'm going to take it upon myself to bell the cat, right? I'm going to step up and do that work and not ask for people to listen to me, but make them do so. And if you have the numbers, which, we do, then it'll happen.
I agree. And I think I would say I think it's important for white presenting people in this country to move over sometimes and step aside and realize that, well, if it's only a 4x4 space, but so many human beings can be in this space. So somebody has to get out. Right. And so I think it's also, as much as it's important for us to show up and show out, it's important for other people to understand their privilege and step back. So I definitely agree with that. And I hear you for sure. And I think, you just being on that campaign is helping to inform. I'm sure not sure if anyone else is from Uzbekistan on the campaign. I'm not sure, but you are informing that campaign in a way that no one else is. So that's powerful.
Definitely.
Before we conclude, one quick last question for both of you all. If you all were to choose one ancestor that you identify as a hero or shiro in your life, that you believe you are carrying the torch for today, who would that person be? And what message would you want them to hear? If we could shout it to the heavens right now, we could shout it to whatever the powers were, because we know they listen in somewhere. What would that message be for them? And Kelly, if you want to go ahead and start in identifying who that person is.
I've already said her name, Maggie Lena Walker, pioneer, Jackson Ward. I tell her daily when I pass her statue, I got this. We got you. I mean, it's so funny that that's the theme. I already tell her that we are going to build. We are going to make sure that your stories are never forgotten, that the truth is told to everybody. Everybody needs to know the truth about Black history in the state of Virginia. And so I would really, give my energy to Maggie Lena Walker and tell her we got you.
I love it. You were ready for that question. Come on. We need a poster with that, maybe a video clip. And Mahmoud, finish the conversation. What are you thinking?
I mean, I want to be humble, and I don't want to pretend like I'm carrying the torch of Congressman Lewis, but he is certainly someone that I keep in mind this time and this year of all years. We miss him dearly, and kind of going back to the previous question you had asked about, what do we think of as rights, and what do we think of as responsibilities, and how do we get people energized to engage with elections broadly and voting. I just think a lot about the fact that people who came before us went through a lot more than we did. And at the end of the day, what we're asking people to do is get a piece of mail, right? Fill out a piece of paper, put it back in the mail, or, if not that, because people do make it hard, you can sit in line for an hour and a half and press a button. And I'm constantly reminded that, and then at the end you get this little sticker, right? They even give you something cool for it. And with that, we control so much, and we can take power just through that very simple act. And back in Congressman Lewis's time, I mean, we all know, he had his head cracked open, came on the brink of death, and, not just himself, but so many people whose names we don't know, who put their lives on the line so that we could be in the place where we are right now. So I think about that a lot, and that's what gives me energy. And I hope that, everyone else kind of assumes that same level of responsibility, because I think that's sort of the least that we can do to honor all those people that came before us.
I love it. Oh, what a challenge. What a charge. I wish I could talk to you all longer, but we have a slate of speakers today. And the fact that we were able to spend any time with both of you, I'm forever grateful. And I am forever energized. If you all don't know Kelly Lemon in Richmond, Virginia, if you don't know about the Jackson Ward Collective, please look it up. Please support all that she is doing. And if you don't know Mahmoud, like I said, Rhodes Scholar, activist, organizer, please make sure you connect with him, because they are doing the work. They are in the community, and they are carrying the torch. So I thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes.
That's it real quick. If you don't know where you need to vote or when or anything like that, go to iwillvote.com. and they have everything laid out there. And like Ms. Young said earlier, make a plan, make it today, and bring 5 friends, and we can do this thing.
Yes, I love it. Thank you all.
This
Happy
was an
Sunday.
honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are moving in true Sunday supper time. We are a little bit behind, but that's okay because the knowledge and the wisdom that we're being offered is just it's extraordinary. It's incredible.
It is. That was a great conversation, and I had to butt in because although we are celebrating Dr. Lowery's birthday, we are also celebrating the other Dr. Lowery, which is Dr. Evelyn Gibson Lowery. And I would be remiss. I'm gonna get myself in trouble because I enjoyed the conversation and all the paraphernalia that was shown on the screen. But if we didn't show love to some of our other Greeks today, I think I would hear the thunderclap and the ground under my feet. So shout out to also our sisters from the AKAs who are also doing the work and doing it well.
Shout out to the entire Divine Nine. How about
there you go. Well, this is going to be a natural transition, actually, to remind everybody that we also encourage civic participation on this platform. So, as a reminder, I believe this Tuesday, Ms. Kamala Harris will be on doing a debate. So, make sure you're watching that and tuning in. Just leaving that there for everybody to hear. But I'm thrilled. I'm excited to keep moving. The passionate program. And with that, in going into this season, Tyra, I want to bring up our next speaker, performer, person who is doing the work, who has something prepared for us. I want to call her up, Miss Ashley Grissom. Are you here? Are you available?
Ashley Grissom Kersey.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
Hey.
Hello, Spellman.
Hey, represent. How are you? I'm sorry we're running behind, but how are you? We are so
no worries, doing as well as we can be in 2020, but I'm geared up and ready to go to just support, the cause that you guys are bringing to light, which is just the importance of voting.
Well, yes. Well, thank you, Ashley. You have taught us so much through the years. I know you've been connected to the Institute for a while, and you consistently remind us of the importance of being this bridge between the generation that's come before us and the generation in the future that will come after us. And so I know we are all screaming to the heavens, we got you, Dr. Lowery. And I know you are, and I know that's important to you. But what do you have to share with us tonight? What do you have to share with us in Dr. Lowery and all of the legacy that he has shared with us to be able to carry forward?
Definitely. Well, I appreciate it. It's an honor to join you all today in celebrating Dr. Lowery's heavenly birthday and legacy. Today, I really want to take the time to share 3 pieces. When I think about all that's going on, and I'll take my attorney hat off and be able to put the blessing, that which is being able to be a biographer for African-American legacies. That is my true passion. So I want to have one piece in honor of Dr. Lowery himself under the theme of We Got You. Then I want to transition to shining a light on our Black men and children who we've lost this year, and another to inspire Black women that despite the pain of recent events, we too can rise to this occasion and vote. So in the African-American tradition, we know when we speak one's name, we give spiritual reverence to their presence. For every step you took, we will vow to run and look to the hills from which cometh our help. For in their valleys you fought, so on their peaks we stand reminded of all you taught. We got you, Dr. Lowery, for we will march on and vote. For every heart of hate and mind of stone you changed, we will love both our supporters and our adversaries. For in your legacy you leave love, and for your tests rose testimonies. By telling your story and living off the fruits of your wisdom, we got you, Dr. Lowery. For we will march on and vote. For every life that you've touched and seed of faith you've sown, we will manifest purpose-driven lives, enriching our roots as one. For every child that is graced to live in the future of a better day, we will honor your legacy. We will tell your story, and we will speak your name. Dr. Lowery, we proudly proclaim, we will march on and vote. For all of our Black brothers and young boys who have lost their lives in the recent violence that has impacted our country, this is for you. Blackbirds. If our Black boys were like birds, they would have known to wait to fly down south until it gets cold, when the air is less chill and the mob is less bold, less frigid than the north, but less hot than July, avoiding that time of the year when the lynching is most high. If our Black boys were like birds, they'd avoid hunting season where the men line up and wait for them to reach that very moment in life when they've flown too high. That's when they become a target in the sky, shot at, just when they reach a peak, and all just for sport. A death called a game prize and not a murder. For the family of an animal, there's no justice in court. If our Black boys were like birds, they'd move in a group. For when one travels alone, they often never return to the coop. In a land where barbed wire covers every landing spot, forced to fly and fly till their wings give out and they're too tired to fight. Fight against the wind that blows against your face, for you can't slow down. You can't look back when your life's at stake. Fly, Black boys, fly and stretch your wings. Fly, Black boys, fly towards the horizons of your dreams. And never forget, it is you who descends from the nests of kings and of queens. Fly, my Black boys, fly, and know this to be true, that despite the pain, your flight is not in vain, for the wings of Dr. Lowery have flown for you. With Godspeed, George Floyd, and the countless of lives stolen before you, in honor of all of you, to vote is what we are called to do. If our Black boys were like birds. And as I said, and as we know, women's lives have also been taken in this fight. So in honor of them, and in the spirit that is Spelman College, I say, a strong, tall, and wise woman once said, if the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, we as women together ought to be able to turn it right side up again. Women of every color, culture, and creed, we're doing just that, turning this world, and it's sure beginning to look a whole lot different. Courageously, women like Harriet Tubman, Coretta Scott King, and Mrs. Evelyn G. Lowry turned the world a whole degree, marching thousands to freedom. Without permission, women like Ida B. Wells and Mary Terrell spun the earth on its axis when seizing the right to vote for women. With dignity, women like Mamie Till, Sabrina Fulton, and Tamika Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mom, turned this world by bringing light to the murder of their children and all Black boys and girls whose murders receive no justice and no peace. Turn, women, turn, it's a different world. Turn, women, turn, it's a different world. When the world said colored girls couldn't go to good schools, Kamala Harris got up early on a bus and for the cause of integration said, I'm different. When the world said Black women are only thick, black, and slow, with 3 gold medals hanging with grace, Wilma Rudolph said men eat dust. And Naomi Osaka, winning tennis tournament after tennis tournament after tennis tournament, took the time to give Black activism in the USA a place on the world stage. She said, I may be small, but I'm tougher than you think. And with undefeated confidence, she screamed, I'm different. And just when those same men thought they had the very last word, the squad marched to the beat of Aretha Franklin's R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me. They sure are different. Coming from humble beginnings with a heart full of love and compassion, Oprah taught women on and off screen, speak on your own terms, love on your own terms, and give on your own terms. With $1 billion backing, the world she turns, and it's sure looking a whole lot different. As this world continues to turn, we hope it becomes a place where we have not just the first in Michelle Obama, but many Black women who are both first ladies, vice presidents like Kamala Harris, and future presidents on the world stage leading. As Dr. Angelou once said, you may write us down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod us in the very dirt, but still like dust, Black women rise. I vow to say we are made up of a different dust, a dust that has withstood and survived the tests of time, a dust that is twirled in the sands of the Ivory Coast and floated off into the currents of the Atlantic, landing on the shoulders of Sojourner Truth. Dust which has swept under the porch rugs of Mississippi, but rose up ready to fight like Fannie Lou Hamer. A dust which has settled onto the front steps of Congress in Washington, D.C., and is ready to be in charge like Auntie Maxine. A dust which will rise with a mighty force as we mail in our ballots or stand in line on November 4th. You see, in this year of 2020, we live day by day, often traumatized by the images we see on our screens. Whether seeking hope, justice, or just the end to police brutality, may we once again believe that we can be different. We can be the change we seek. For as Dr. Lowery once preached, this may be the last time. This may be the last time. Oh, this may be the last time. Maybe the last time. I don't know. This may be the last time women have a choice. This may be the last time you use your voice. This may be the last time you vote for justice and peace. This may be the legacy that we leave. Oh, this may be our last time. This may be our last time. This may be our last time. Maybe the last time. I don't know. For all that has occurred in 2020, please think of what legacy you want to leave. And with Godspeed, vote.
Took me a minute to get myself together after that, Ashley. I'm sorry. I was rendered momentarily stupefied. So forgive me for hiding in the back for a few minutes. Thank you so much for that.
Ashley! Oh, you gave us all we needed. I mean, really, drops the mic, the virtual mic, wherever it is. Ashley, you are forever blessing us with your many talents. And so when you think about carrying the torch in like one sentence, what does that mean for you?
That for me is the privilege we have in inheriting the strength of our existence. Tyra, you talked about the fact that it is our very presence as Black women and Black men when we step onto the stage, when we step into work, when we step into society. That very existence is what we get. That's the tangible inheritance we have of survival, the tangible inheritance we have of the strength of saying, though I am tired, I will not be tired yet. And so I think for me, it's being able to live in that and know that inheritance isn't always for our people coming through the means of, money trees and wealth and, tangible products. But that idea of that spiritual inheritance that speaks to the legacy of Dr. Lowery, that spiritual legacy and inheritance that speaks to the legacy of Evelyn Lowery. That's to me what I take on. And so having the privilege to stand on their shoulders and having the privilege to know that's what the inheritance that I can take. I think all we can do is vote. All we must do is vote. And I think seeing it not as something you must do, but as something you want to do, because it is a privilege, and having power behind that is really what we need to get to be able to have that grassroots campaign, because it's going to take everybody this year.
Absolutely.
Hello. Ashley, we are so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You all don't know Ashley Grisham-Kersey. If you need a speaker, a singer, an activist, an organizer, hit her up. Find her.
Call your girl.
Call your girl.
Nothing but
because
time.
she's your person. Yes. Well, thank you, Ashley. Have a good
God
rest
bless.
of the Sunday, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Whew. All I would say is I've never wanted to be a bird so bad in my life.
You are a bird. Ashley said you're a bird.
I'm a bird. I'm a bird. I would have never said that about myself, and I feel like floating on air. So I thank Ashley for that tribute. You know, as we mentioned today, this is all about we got you. You know, we're showing our love to Dr. Lowery, and we're trying to figure out and demonstrate for ourselves how we're carrying that message forward. And I if you don't see how Ashley Gershon is carrying that message forward, I have nothing else for you. But moving on, ladies, gents, I know the supper has been full today. I know the courses have run long, but we are not done.
Yes.
Because we have a tremendous honor today. A tremendous presence is joining us. And I am so thrilled, so humbled to be in this position right now. I'm gonna be honest with you, Tyra. We have been blessed, right? We have had the opportunity. We've been doing this, as you reminded me, not 4 times, not 5 times, but 11 times to be on stage and to try to bring our progressive and innovative voices to the world, right? To try to show you not only why we should vote, but why this whole thing is important, why our energy is in vain. And I admit there are those days when we prep for and get ready for dinner and we cooking in the kitchen. I don't see us cook, but we cook. And, man, this meal is hard to put together. But you know what? It's worth it. And this is one of those days where you really, really feel it. And in the vein of that worth, sometimes you get a humbling moment. And I am humbled. I am honored to talk about our final speaker for the evening. This is a woman who barely needs introduction. I mean, to be honest, I can barely do justice, but I will try to tell you about a woman who has led, who has spoken, who has used her voice, who has been innovative, and has spoken deep on the topic of how Blackness is not just a monolith, right? How we're not just this monolithic individualistic culture, but that we are this melting pot and that we all have a voice and we all have something to contribute to the subject. I'm talking about someone who is world touch. Can I say world touch? Because not only did she grow up in the heartland of America, I'm talking about Nebraska. I'm sorry, grew up in Nebraska, but was born in Japan and had a wealth of experience, a wealth of perspective, a wealth of knowledge to bring to us to right now to help take our supper international, make it more diverse. I am so thrilled. I'm so excited. Tyra, tell them who we're talking to. Tell I can't even say it.
I'm so excited. I'm so grateful. We are talking to, you may know her as Grace, but we are talking to her as the Merle Dandridge. Please join us.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well. And I have to say, I'm so encouraged and I feel so uplifted and I feel nourished by your words and by your work and everything that you represent, just that, but then your actual actions and your hard boots on the ground work to get these messages out and to educate people, myself included. So thank you very much for your hard work. It is deeply appreciated, deeply necessary. I know it's not easy every single day, but you're doing it. I mean, with like, even though we're aching inside, you're doing it with such joy on your lips. And that means everything. So thank you so much. And I have to say, the whole idea of Sunday supper, I mean, you just know, you're gonna be with family. As soon as I heard that name, I had images of like my uncles in the garage in Memphis doing the fish fry while we're getting ready for something else. But when we all get it together, we're really going to we're going to have a moment.
Yes.
and we are going to fellowship, and we're going to bring some healing and some light. So I'm just very grateful. Thank you for being salt and light in this very, very difficult place that we're walking through right now.
And it's so funny you named that, because you've gotten exactly what we wanted people to get from this, because that is actually what Dr. Lowery would do for when I was in the Atlanta University Center at Spelman College. He would have us as student organizers and student activists to his house on Sundays. And sometimes it'd be fish, sometimes it'd be burgers, sometimes it'd be pizza. But it would be exactly what you're naming, this idea of community, and of having honest conversation with the people that you love and trust most. That is exactly why we called this Sunday Supper. So it really touches my heart that you named that and you recognize that, because we thought long and hard about what this name should be.
I love it. I love it. And I'm so honored to be here celebrating Dr. Lowery. Thank you for letting me be a part of your conversation.
Thank you. So we want to get started. I have a list of questions for you, but given that I talk too much, I'm cutting low on time. But to start, I'm really, really interested in hearing what you identify as the threats to Dr. Lowery's legacy. But more specifically, what role do you think the arts play in reminding us of what we're up against? Because I think sometimes the arts we can escape, and sometimes escaping in a not so positive way, that we become distant from reality. But the arts that you've been engaged in, it seems like you're very intentional about the pieces and work that you choose. The work that you're involved in is intentional because it tells truth.
Yes.
And so talk to me, or at least I perceive it as such. So talk to me a little bit about what the threats that you see that we're dealing with, and then what role do you think arts play in reminding us of that?
I think we have several threats. I think apathy is a big one. That I have noticed in my personal walk, or dealing with people who walk in regret because of the things that they did not do, and now we're in a place where we have to activate. I've always believed that arts can must be and should be a mirror to our social condition. They should reflect ourselves. And what I love about Greenleaf is that it has had such a wide reach to many, many different demographics, many different walks of life. But of course, it's a love letter to the Black community. And, having my family steeped in the Memphis Black church, it was important to me to tell my family stories. And it was important to me to also show beautiful melanated people reflected on screen, so that people can see themselves.
Right.
And as I remember, it was the first day of shooting for season 2 of Greenleaf, and we were in the makeup trailer. It was the morning after the election in 2016, our very first day of shooting. And I remember looking to my right, there's Miss Winfrey, and we were looking and examining, how did we get here? How did we get to this place? Because obviously it was there was a heaviness on all of us that morning when the election went in a way that we didn't think it was going to. But what was more surprising, I was talking about earlier, the apathy that might have presented itself in some people who were like, I didn't really think that he was going to win. I didn't really think that was going to happen. I didn't think that my voice mattered. I didn't think that I could make a difference. And, I didn't grow up with activism in my blood, in my veins. I didn't grow up on marches. I didn't do all of those things. But, I've been studying recently Gideon in the Bible, and he didn't believe that he was someone to be out there on the march. He didn't believe he had greatness in him. And the Lord said to Gideon, go in the strength that you have. So with those words in my heart, I look and I examine and I say, hey, when am I being a Mary and when am I being a Martha? And what I mean by that is that in my, I guess, Mary mentality, what am I getting out of when I'm listening to the teachings of Jesus? And also what am I getting, what am I gleaning from those who came before me? What am I learning? Am I getting educated on the specifics of how these injustices and systemic devaluing of Black life happened in our society? Am I being clear about that? Do I know who fought for it? Do I know? You get what I'm saying? What am I reading? What am I listening to? All of that. And then when am I being a Martha? When am I being salt? When am I in the rooms that I have been placed, changing the atmosphere? And when I'm seated at those tables, and then when is it time to dismantle that table and build one all brand new?
Brand new. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like being very specific in how we apply those things is important. That was a long answer. Sorry.
No, it was fantastic. I mean, and I had to trying to fight with myself because one of the reasons why we started with that speech that Dr. Lowery was talking about is this connection to kind of what you're talking about, that moral imperative, right? That desire, that need that God puts in us to assume the mantle, to understand that it's your responsibility to take that plan, right? And just following up on that and what you were just talking about, understanding when to be a Martha and when to be a Mary, but just understanding what for you what was the moment where you decided, I've got to use my voice. I've got to step out onto the stage to encourage people. Was it what happened on that day when you were seeing Miss Winfrey, or was it something else? What encouraged you to take your voice?
I think the reason why I think it's important for me to talk about this is because I think there are many people who feel timid with their voice and are not knowing how to step forward and not knowing which way to move, and perhaps, is my voice strong enough? What do I have to offer? And we all have something to offer, and it's important that we do that. No, it came to a point where I had to realize that everything that my big mom and my big daddy did for me, I need to pick that up and I need to carry that forward, and I need to pick up the baton and keep marching forward with it. For my family, for my friends, for everybody who was coming after us. And also, I have to say, there was a big shift that happened when I was living in Atlanta, filming Greenleaf. And I started to have an ongoing, is everybody still there? I feel like I'm out here by myself. Anybody?
We're here.
I was like,
we're tuned in. I'm over here like this. I don't need people to see me like this. I'm so deeply listening. But
no, it was an understanding that when people started to come up to me with their hearts on their sleeves, that I wanted to reflect that back to them, and I wanted to give voice to that.
Oh, that's so powerful. And I think 2020 has been that for so many people.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, it takes, seeing a Black man with a knee in his neck for some people to be activated in that way. But I'm not too proud to say, thank God it has been. And for so many people, thank God this has been the moment for people to be activated. One of the things that I continue to think about, though, and I'm interested in hearing your perspective on, is what I see as one of the most dangerous threats to our country and to our people is the way that white supremacy divides those who look similar or from the diaspora. Mm-hmm. Leaning more into that, I think that white supremacy uniquely divides us, but also erases us, erases our uniqueness, our diversity. And going to a HBCU, I think that experience really taught me wow, Blackness is a lot of different things. It looks different, it acts different, it sounds different. But the interesting thing that I think we've seen about this year in particular, whether it be intergenerational struggles, whether it be class struggles, whether it be ethnicity struggles, there have been systemic actions by white supremacy to divide us. And so I'm interested in knowing more about how you and all of the identities that you hold, how do you show up as an advocate representing respectfully all of the identities that you hold, while at the same time being a voice for uniting all of those different spaces and places that may, without your presence, may not even be connected?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question because being out there at the rallies, being there in the presence of these parents who've lost their children, who being in the proximity of all of that pain that has just been. And to your point, I think that it has opened so many eyes for people to actually have to see the things that they don't know, that they maybe
don't even know exist.
Believe actually happened. That they had hard proof. Yes, these things are real, they are constant, and they are readily happening right in front of your face, and you must do something to change it. I just wanted to speak to that because I am amazed how many people still do not believe that this is a problem in our country. And to that end, it's important that we keep saying it, that we keep speaking it, and that we keep these people's names on our tongue and making sure that they are not forgotten and that these stories are not forgotten, because they will repeat as we have seen them over and over and over again. In my particular circumstance, I come from very different, very unique cultures. And in the Korean part of my culture, they were very divided by being taken over, annexed by Japan, by being divided by communism and stuff like that. And so many families have deep, dark wounds and deep secrets that they are not necessarily talking about. And as I step forward as, a grown woman and try to connect the dots with my family in Korea, I'm also taking it upon myself to examine, educate myself, and find out what my people here had been doing and where I need to pick up that mantle here as well. And the conflation of those things, I think, is very important, because we are not one thing, and I am not one thing. I am not what do I mean to say? Being two different things conflated has presented me with a very unique opportunity to bring empathy, to have an empathetic spirit. And I think that is something that is very important, something that I have been gifted with, even though I feel as though in many ways I've been growing up in a very white place in Nebraska, very marginalized. So now it's time for me to celebrate those things and to celebrate everything that makes us very unique.
That is such an interesting point. And I want to maybe lean into that a little bit deeper. And you may have heard me already say that today, that I think our existence as Black women is an act of resistance. And so as you grow up, or as you grew up in Nebraska, your survival was probably your resistance. And I think it's important for us as Black women, in an act to heal one another, look to our sister next door and say, sis, you're living today. You're alive. Yeah. That is resistance, because they don't want us to be. They don't want us to be alive and thriving in the ways that you surely have throughout your life, but especially in the characters that you've brought life to. you're such an example of that. So I say thank you, because you're resistant. And I want to maybe even dig a little bit deeper into that. I know you, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you were nominated for a Grammy for the role that you played of Papa Gee in a Broadway musical. Is it Papa Gee or Papa G?
Papa Gay.
Papa Gay, thank you. And I realizing, reading more into that, is that you were the first woman ever, I believe, to play that role.
Yeah.
And so when I thought about that and thought about what does it mean as a Black woman to resist in her presence and being in a space, that is what you were doing. That's how I perceived what you were doing, just being in that space. But it also was a glass breaking moment. But as we know about glass breaking moments, sometimes those of us who are a little bit browner oftentimes are the ones who receive the cuts. When we break the glass, we still have to be there. Not have to be, but we are there to receive some of the pain that comes from the glass breaking on our skins and on our backs. Yeah. And so I would love to know, how do you, I mean, I'm naming all the ways I've seen you resist in your life, but how do you define resistance in your life and in the work that you've been doing? And what would you say to maybe a young artist, activist who may want to resist as well? What would you say to them, how they can show up and be an agent of change as well?
Well, the first thing is to know your value. Know inherently what value you carry, and that every experience that you have, every active resistance that you are met with, and I love the way that you make it a positive, proactive thing, that my active resistance is also my greatness. That as you step through life and those things come against you, that they are also those places that you have been put strategically, and that you look at them as such. And as we, as Black women, and as people of color, as we sharpen each other and we cherish each other and look in each other's eyes and remind each other of our value, that we can be of an encouragement when we stumble. We can be an example when we don't have representation. We can be so many things, but you must have the courage to continually step forward day by day and know that it is making a difference. Just because you exist and you are beautiful and you are purposed, that is your active resistance, and that is your you know, what do they say? Success is great revenge. But the fact that you rise anyway.
Yes.
No matter what, all of these things that have been put in place to keep you down, but you rise anyway, and somebody else will see that, and they will know that they can go even harder and they can go even farther. And I'm so grateful to have people like Dr. Lowery, like yourselves, that encourage me to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep fighting, and keep representing, so that others that come behind us and around us will actually step up to our full potential and keep speaking the word. We need to keep talking. We are chosen. We are necessary.
Ooh. Ooh. That's a soundbite. I'm gonna repeat that every morning when I wake up because it's not always easy. So thank you for naming that and sharing those words, because that means so much to me and so many I know of our listeners as well.
Yeah, I may steal that. Even we may put that out there. I want to be fully transparent that I may steal that. But I just wanted to, one thing about me is I'm big about closing loops and closing ties and bringing things back. And so I just had one quick question for you. I know time is getting away from us and we want to be respectful of your time, but just a couple more quick follow-ups. And this one is just for me, because I've been wrestling with this question myself. So it's fun to throw a question you're wrestling with to somebody else. But what is your cat? If we're going to be taking this mantle of Dr. Lowery and we're going to be belling our cats, I think each of us has to ask that question of ourselves, right? And in the vein of what you were talking about, what would you say is your cat right now in this time period? And how are you going to bell that cat?
You know, I was listening to the other people talking about that very same thing. I think in many ways, the fact that this news cycle, the devaluing of Black life, inherently says something deep to our core that that we are. It's a heaviness to bear, and I think the thing that I need to bell and to be a resounding call is to shake that off and declare and name something else. Name, as I said before, how glorious and valuable and powerful we are, especially when we use our voice. And there are so many things in this world that will keep us from doing that, would like to try to keep us from doing that, and let us believe that our worth is less than it is. But if we keep ringing that bell, yes, we are beautiful. Yes, we are mighty. Yes, we are overcomers. Yes, we will get through this. Those are the things that I need to put a bell on, and I need to keep fighting.
Thank you.
Ooh, I love it. Well, I know we do have to let you go. I mean, we would talk to you all day if we could. Or I'll speak for myself. I would talk to you all day if I could. So we're grateful for you and all that you've brought to this space.
And let me say, I'm a fan of yours. I really am going to be watching out. You have what you are doing and what you are speaking and what you are putting out into the atmosphere is so good.
Thank you.
It is so good.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I learn a lot watching you.
Well, thank you. I'm trying out here. It's tough. Tough job.
You can do it, girl. You can do it.
I'm trying. But I am interested in knowing, as we depart, as we think about, we spoke a lot about, I think, our ancestry, and understanding where we're getting the torch from so many people who've come before us, and we're sprinting to that next mile marker. If you were to name one ancestor in your life who you feel like you're holding the torch, or you got the torch from, and now you're holding it and running it forward, who would that ancestor be? And if we could scream to the heavens, the world, whatever it may be, and say, we got you, who would that person be for you?
Well, the first person that comes to mind is my big mama, Alice. And you know what she did raising those 8 kids in Tennessee, so that we could have the life that we have and love the Lord in the way that we do. So, Big Mama.
Yes, Big Mama, we got
Big
you.
Mama.
We got you. We do.
Yes. Thank you, Big Mama. We got you.
Yes. I love it. And so this November 3rd, we're voting for Big Mama. We're voting for Dr. Lowery. We're voting for Mrs. Evelyn Lowery. And we're voting for all the future youths, all the future individuals who may be like me, because we want them to be in a world that they can be free to act, to develop art, to lead freely and justly and equitably. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Please know that you have a platform that we are watching. And when individuals like you post, get out to vote, people do get out to vote. So please never take that weight lightly, because we are watching and we're grateful for you. And so please, we will be marching to these polls. I already voted, so my vote is cast, but I'm taking other people with me each and every day. In these less than 30 days we have left. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
We're so grateful.
Amen. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Happy
See you
Sunday.
next time.
Woo.
Mike,
I'm full.
I'm so full.
So
What
full.
is dessert? I mean,
What is dessert?
I'm ready for dessert. But are we going to tell people what dessert is today?
I think you better be, because the whole point of Sunday supper is we're not just here to. We want to bring you food. We want to feed our hearts. We want to feed our souls. But then we got to get to work, right? Then we got to hitch ourselves up and get to work, which means, ladies and gentlemen, it's phone banking time. That's right. It's the part of the program we're here at Sunday Supper where we transition from just talking about the work and hearing about the work and being inspired by such individuals that we've had today. I mean, Merle, Hank, the panel.
Everyone.
I mean, Stephanie. I mean, talk about full. But now it's time to work. Now it's time to work these carbs out. Long, and let's do it. So, Tyra, let me tell you what we're about to do next.
Okay.
I'm about to bring on the front of the screen.
Cool.
We're going to go through Hub Dollar again. If you were with us about 2 weeks ago, you saw us on Hub Dollar. We made calls, and we were trying to gear people out to vote. This week, we have the special honor and the excitement. We're actually going to be making phone calls on part very particular to Virginia, your home state, Tyra. I know you like that, because we're working to actively drive out the vote in Virginia. And as I encourage our Sunday Supper audience, these calls we make, we will touch other places. We touch everybody. We're trying to make calls in an impactful way. And thank you to our partner organizations for helping us with the phone banking piece. This week, they need us in Virginia. So guess what? We're going to Virginia. So in a minute, I'm going to bring up the instructions. Tyler will narrate them and walk you through them. We are so excited. We're going to start with this brief video that I love. I think it really explains phone banking. It really impacts and shows you what we're doing. Stay with us through the video, and then we will transition into phone banking. We've got the DJ going. I know there was a little hiccup earlier. Oh, we couldn't hear it.
We back.
You'll hear it now. So with that, Tyra,
before we start, no one hang up. I know it was great to receive all that knowledge and love and passion and wisdom, but we need you. These voters in the United States need you. We need to make these calls. So please, if you have 30 minutes of your time to give, please join us in making these calls for phone banking, because I promise you can do it, and it'll be probably the most rewarding thing you've done, maybe the last 5 hours. So join us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here we go.
Phone banking is
banking by phone,
not banking by phone. It's where you volunteer to make calls on behalf of a candidate or a cause.
Yes. Ugh, I hate when people do that.
A lot of people do. You'll place about 30 calls in an hour and talk to 10 people.
Oh, that's an 80% success rate.
It is more like a 30% success rate.
Not good at math.
Either way, it's a lot of opportunity to engage people in great conversations. Let's get into the details with the drill down. Sometimes phone banking is in a group where you're working alongside other volunteers.
Like a party. Bring dip.
And other times you can be set up to do it from home.
Also great because pajamas.
But either way, phone banking is an effective way to help your organization support a candidate, get out the vote, or even recruit more volunteers. Early on, there may be a lot of wrong numbers, but that helps clean up the list, so the campaign can more effectively turn out voters and waste less time on election day.
Okay, what if someone is hostile about getting too many calls? Can I yell back?
Absolutely not, but it's a good question. When it's a close race, sometimes people do get a lot of calls and it can make them cranky, but research shows that even if they get angry,
if I get one more call, I am not voting.
Like that, they're still going to vote. If people are getting lots of calls in a close district, they know their vote is even more important, and your call is not going to stop them.
Ugh, I'm relieved. I have a deep-seated fear of saying the wrong thing. Even what I'm saying right now had to be very carefully scripted.
Speaking of script, your local organizers will give you a script with the important points to make on your calls, or the information they hope to find out from voters. Take some time before you start calling to get familiar with the script.
Oh, hey there, script. You come here often? Because getting familiar with it's not important.
When you know what the important points are, put them into your own words. You don't want to sound like a salesperson. You want to have a conversation and really connect. Whatever info you gather, from wrong numbers to voter commitments, be sure to keep an accurate record to turn in at the end. In campaigns, information is a crucial part of winning.
Hey, let's wrap this up with some tips and tricks.
Remember to smile and be conversational.
Make the script your own. Practice a few times with friends.
Don't sweat the hangups. If someone is rude, just shake it off and move on to the next call.
You're looking for quality conversations, not quantity.
Here's the takeaway. Research shows that phone banking can move the needle as much as 2.5 points in an election.
That's huge. It can mean the difference between winning and losing.
Remember, you're all making a difference, inspiring people to get involved and fight for the changes they want to make in their communities.
So, hop on those phones and make the magic happen.
Thanks for dialing.
All right. That's right. Phone banking time. Tyra, I am thrilled. This is my favorite part of the program. This is my favorite time to eat. And yes, as Tyra said, this is important. We're driving people. This is where the work is done. So please stay with us. Make calls. Help us out. And to do that, we're going to bring up the whole Sunday Supper team. The man who's been working in the background. Hold on, Tyra. I actually messed this up. Can we thank the man working in the background who put on the entire show, made sure everything worked, to keep everything going? I'm talking about the one, the legendary Keon McKay. How you doing, Keon? Thank you.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Yeah, you were killing it with the pressing this button, throwing that.
Yeah, that's all I've been doing, just pressing buttons, putting people on, taking people down, banisters, all that.
Beautiful job.
Yeah, I don't see how much work goes on in the kitchen, but I'm telling you, this is the master chef right here. I'm pointing the wrong way. Hold on. There's the master chef right there.
Directly in the kitchen. But you guys did an amazing job. You and Blake, Tyra and Blake, both of you guys, phenomenal, absolutely.
Thank you, Keon. We wouldn't be here without you, as well as your partner, your friend, Chris Covington.
Yes.
Optic Productions. I don't know, he might be able to join us later, but he is the arts and the brains behind all of our marketing materials. So we're so grateful for him, as well as Matlock Marketing. We are blessed with a lot of great individuals who care deeply about this work. And so, Keon, Blake, let's learn how to phone bank.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Blake, I guess Blake, I'll go through the tips. And you let me know. Hey, it's just me. Get your phone ready. Okay, so starting with this, you need typically one device, as well as either one computer or iPad or tablet, another device if you can. It is very, very difficult to do if you only have one device. From here, I need us to go to hubdialer.com. You can see at the top, hubdialer.com. That's HUBDILER.com. You can go to Google and type it in, Hub Dialer. Or you can just type in www.hubdialer.com. Whatever makes you feel the best. And from there, you're going to go to sign in. It's that little orange thing at the top. But Keon, before we press that, let's wait a second to just make sure if anyone wants to join us, that we give them plenty of time to get their devices straight and to join us at hubdialer.com. This is when I can play the Jeopardy music. And Keon, you're showing us everything. You know, we can see it right now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so back to hubdialer.com. This is where you want to go to get ready to phone bank. And so from there, you're going to press sign in and sign in as a volunteer. Hopefully, we also have our team dropping the link in either our Facebook or our YouTube chat, because that's what you'll need to access if you need this information after we move on. So team, if we can drop that to Google Doc link or the PDF, that would be great. If you are with us, so you're going to go to join a campaign at the top, you'll have three options, basically, things you have to fill out. One, you'll have to put in your email address. So if it's your first time once you're signing into Hub Dialer, you'll check that box. Check the box. Yes, and then you'll have to put in your first name, last name. That's the only difference between, if you've already done this before, all you have to put in your email and it will recognize it. From there, you put in your campaign ID. So the campaign ID today, if we can throw that up too, is 24501. 24501. That's very important. And the passcode is 110320. 110320. Don't press login yet. Let's make sure everybody's caught up. Wait a second. So remember, the campaign ID, if we can throw the campaign ID up on the bottom, that would be awesome. It's 24501. And the passcode is 110320. Awesome. Okay, we'll go ahead and press log in. Perfect. So then you'll get to this next page. This next page is really cool because it basically tells you all that you need to know in order to phone bank. I will definitely encourage you all to take the time to read through it if you would like to kind of know the intricacies of what you're about to do. But I can basically tell you that how Hub Dialer works is that you're not using your number. So when you call, it is not your number that is going to show up on someone's caller ID. It is a number that is generated through the platform. And so what you'll do, you'll basically log in on the next page. And then when you press enter, go, you'll hear music and it will be essentially like a waiting room. When that waiting room then connects with the caller, you'll hear a beep and then you'll just have to start talking. There will be no prompt like talk now. No, you won't get that. You will just hear that beep and then you have to start talking. So the script will be on the screen. Don't worry about having a script on the side. No, it will be on the screen for every caller because sometimes it may vary a little bit if you're calling in a different district. So trust the technology because the technology will take you to the script that you need for that particular voter. So if you scroll all the way down on that page, yes, so this is a sample of what the script would look like. Feel free to read through it when you can. We're asking about who individuals are planning to vote for, so we have that data, and how they will be voting. We are a nonpartisan organization, so we're not encouraging anyone to vote for anyone in particular. We are encouraging them to vote, but not for a specific candidate. So right now, we're just really gathering the data for our partners, and then asking individuals if they have their voting plan, if they're planning on voting early. If we're at the bottom of that, I think it says next somewhere, but we can't see it with the Hub Dialer screen on the bottom. But if you can go to the next page, that would be great. Yes, perfect. So this is the part that's a little bit confusing. What you will need to do is call this number using your cellular device. So this is why we say it's important that you have two devices, because you'll have to look at this number as well as call the number on your phone. At this point, you'll open your phone and you'll dial 201-252. This is just for Blake, not for everyone else, because you'll have your own generated number. But Blake is logged in, so he will call that number. And then they will ask him for a dial-in code. At that point, he'll put in that dial-in code. That will generate a confirmation code. All the codes. But that confirmation code is specific to your phone. And so at that point, you'll receive a confirmation code. It will be read back to you. And so remember, you'll put in that number, you'll get the dial-in code, you'll put in the dial-in code, and then at that moment, you'll receive a confirmation code. It will be kind of long, I believe. I can't remember how long they are. Oh, or it's pretty short. It looks like Blake has already done that. So Blake, whenever you're ready, go ahead and start your calls. All right, it looks like he's in. So we don't want to distract Blake too much, but it looks like he's ready to make calls. So I'm going to go, yes. So we're going to stop sharing our screen and I'm going to go into my Hub Dialer and I'm going to do the same. Is Blake making calls or did you hang up?
The whole music is quite enjoyable.
Should we be quiet? What if someone answers? It looks like you got a call. Oh, and they hang up. They hung up. It's okay. It's okay. It happens.
It happens, but you know what? It's all right. That's just a way of sorting through data. We have no problem with hangups. I'm going to get back to the next call. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody join me. Let's make some calls. And if you want, Larry, I'll start the music.
Please select the appropriate responses.
Let's start the music. Let's make these calls. Keon, join us. The more people, the better. It goes faster if we're all doing it. So everyone, let's get online.
And as we like to say at Sunday Supper, it's not just phone banking, it's a phone banking party. So please believe we're about to turn up some music. We'll pop back in time to time to check on you to see if you're having any difficulties. Put them in the comments. We'll double check and see how it's going. With that, hey, DJ, Let's turn it up.
Okay, DJ. DJ Dose.
All those times I said that I loved you, you lied to me. Yes, I tried.
Able to see DJ Dose? Where is he at?
To me. Even though you knew I'd die for you, you lied to me. Yes, I cried. Yes, I cried.
There he is. Hey.
I hope you are receiving an abundance of information. Remember to vote. Remember to vote. This is Personal is Political. I am Dos Diaz. Thank you for rocking out with us right now. Let's go. I'm sure that all those times I said that I love you, you lied to me. Yes, I tried. Yes, I tried. The whole finish. Select the appropriate responses and click to. That's right. Yes, I cried. Yes, I cried. Talk to him. She said she'd never turn on me. You lied to me. What you did? What you did? You lied to me. All this baby said I never. Let's keep partying. You lied to me. But I do, because I know it from the start. Baby, when you broke my heart, that I had to call my name and show you that I win. You lied to me. All those times I said that I loved you, you lied to me. Talk to him. Yes, I tried. Yes, I tried. Make sure you vote. Make sure you vote. Even though you knew I'd die for you, you lied to me. Yes, I cried. Yes, I cried. Return of the man. Return of the man. Come on. Return of the man. Oh my God. You know that I've been here. I am. Return of the man. Once again. Return of the man. How about the world? Return of the man. Hold on, don't shoot a dead song. Here I go. Leader, tell me take it back. Tell me if you with it, cause I'm with it, babe. I haven't heard from you and I'm in it, babe. Just tell me what to do and I hit it, babe. Gucci and Prada. Gypsy crib in the middle of the night. I won't let you miss me as I put it down right down, babe. That's right. I can put you on a mic. You know that. Let's have some fun. Go vote. Let's go. Everything you do is amazing. Ain't nobody got to go crazy. I got what you need. Everybody think you shy, but I know you a great little baby. Everything you do is amazing. Ain't nobody got to go crazy. I got what you need. Everybody think you shy, but I know you a great little baby. I've been overseas going crazy. I can tell you love it when we made up. Black and gray diamonds like Marita. Green and orange, peel, your love is real. Love and skills, I need some love and skills. Love that drives me, you love me still. Eyes come lazy, but it is real. Dress to kill. Biggie bum bum, say it's time. I can put a stone by your eye. I can't say you never switch your sides. You never tell me lies. Not rushing time, task, yeah. Triple T crib in the middle of the night. I'ma let you miss me as I put it down right there, babe. I can put you on a flight. You know that a nigga like me can change your life, oh, babe. Everything you do is amazing. Ain't nobody got to go crazy. I got what you need. Everybody think you shy, but I know you a great little baby. Yo, give me lit. What's on my phone when they found out that I'm rich, then they switch. When they see I'm choosing on my top down, gotta doing donuts on it, yeah. Pause for the flick. Damn it, I said, baby, why you do it on the split? She don't need no hands on no pants, do your dance. Poppin' rubber bands, hit the dance, make it dance. Yo, once again, make sure you hit them phone lines. Tell a friend to go vote. And make sure you plan on voting as well. Crib in the middle of the night. I know that you miss me, had to put it down right. Yeah, babe. I can put you on a flight. You know that a nigga like me can change your life, oh, babe. Everything you do is amazing. Ain't nobody got to go crazy. I got what you need. Everybody make you shout, but I know you break down. Yo, Ghost.
I look at this so deep in your eyes. I touch on you more and more every time. When you leave, I'm begging you not to go. Call your name 2-3 times in a row. Such a funny thing for me to try to explain. How I'm feeling and my pride is the one to blame. Cause I know I don't understand just how you love you doing no one else can. Got me looking so crazy right now. Your love's got me looking so crazy right now. Got me looking so crazy right now. Your touch got me looking so crazy right now. Got me hoping you page me right now. Your kiss got me hoping you save me right now. Looking so crazy, your love's got me looking so crazy, your love. When I talk to my friends so quietly, who we think he is? Look at what you did to me. Tennis shoes don't even need to buy a new dress. If you ain't there, ain't nobody else to impress. Why that you know what I thought I knew? It's the beat in my heart gets when I'm with you. But I still don't understand just how you love me doing no one else can. Got me looking so crazy right now. Your love's got me looking so crazy right now. Got me looking so crazy right now. Your touch got me looking so crazy right now. Got me hoping you page me right now. Yes, got me hoping you save me right now. Looking so crazy, your love's got me looking so crazy, your love. Looking so crazy, your love's got me looking so crazy, your love.
Got me doing things I'll never do if you ain't there.
Let's party. Once again, personal is political. Personal is political. Thank you, Joseph and Evelyn Institute, for having me. Let's go.
She got me doing the dishes. Anything she wants for some kisses. I'm cooking for her when she gets hungry. All she doing is acting like she want me. She cutting off all my homies, even all of my other bronies. She ain't even my main lady. See, I've been thinking about it lately. Man, she really don't deserve me. All she wanna do is hurt me. So I gotta get away from her. But I won't leave it quickly. Before she come and try to get
We
me.
vibing out right now. Let's go.
Everything with me. I'll come down the house. Oh, she got me doing things I'll never do. If you ain't been, I'm telling you, I'll grow. Oh, she got me doing things I'll never do. If you ain't been, I'm telling you, So we went our separate ways. It's been a couple of days, but now I'm doing what I want to. But nobody telling me what I'm gonna do. And I'm feeling so free, with nobody but me. Now I can handle all my business. All of my feelings, can I get a witness? But I'm feeling kinda lonely. On top of that, I'm kinda on it. And I gotta get back to her. I'm leaving quickly. Before she come and try to get me.
Let's take it back for just a second.
Dog, she got me doing things I'll never do. If you ain't been, I'm telling you, I'm sprung. Dog, she got me doing things I'll never do. If you ain't been, I'm telling you, I'm sprung. Dog, she got me
again, make sure you vote. Make sure you vote. Call a friend and tell them to do the same. We still vibing out. I love it. I love it.
Girl, you looking sweet like wine. You got a baby, wish that I could love you right in a special way.
That's right, that's right.
You like my mind. I feel alive.
Once again, big shout out to the Joseph and Evelyn Lowery Institute.
Blow my mind.
Thank you for having me. Let's keep vibing. Let's go. Make sure you are still sharing this link. Tell a friend to vote. Stress the importance, especially in this election. Let's go, my people.
Situation will arise in our lives, but you gotta be smart about it. Celebration with the guys I sacrificed. I knew you could not sleep without it. Meanwhile,
That's right.
I love you.
Who am I?
You are my girl.
Yo, Dose.
You see,
Sing it with me if you know it.
but you're so steady, baby. It's okay, girl. 'Cause I'ma be alright tonight. You don't have to call. It's okay, girl. 'Cause I'ma be alright tonight. Oh, girl, your face is saying why. Tears and I should have been more smart about it. Should have cherished me. Listening to friends. Now it's the end. And again, I'll start reckoning without it. Damn, I love you. Oh my God.
We still vibing right now. Personal is political.
But you're so steady, baby. It's okay, girl. 'Cause I'ma be alright tonight. You don't have to call. It's okay, girl. 'Cause I'ma be alright tonight. Gonna boogie tonight. 'Cause I'm honestly too young of a guy to stay home, waiting for love. So tonight,
Yo, Dose.
do you ever dream of candy coated raindrops? You're the same, why can't we make
again, make sure you are voting. You call your friend and you tell them to call their friend and their friend and their friend and tell them how important it is to vote in this election. Once again, I am Dos Diaz. Let's keep partying. Let's go.
I never thought that I would find all that I need in life. All I want, all I need now. I know I found it in you. Found it in you. Cause you my love.
We gonna keep vibing right now. This is my era. I love this era. Like, what you know about this? I was born in the 90s, but I'm an 80s baby, truly.
Are now reality. Each and every time you are here with me, the touch you give me with your hands. When you caress my skin, I'm under your command. Girl, you hypnotize me with your eyes. It took me some time, now I realize it's you to whom I belong. I love it. The feeling's getting strong. The things you do to me. It brings out
I need you stepping by the computer, stepping by your tablet, stepping by your phone while you're listening right now.
You are my lover. When I'm with you, there is no other. A spell you got me under. Please don't you leave. I know you can't believe. I can't sleep at night. I toss and turn, listening for telephone. But when it gets your
Hi, is this Roy?
can't believe you called my home. And as forever,
Oh, well, thank you. I apologize for taking this call.
this girl like you is like a dream come true.
Make sure you vote and make sure you plan to vote.
No matter what your friends try to tell you, we will make fall in love. And we see together, we got never. Just like that, just like that. It's the step I take. You will never be there. Every step I take.
Be together.
Every step I take. You will never be there. Every step I take.
Be together. Let's go.
Hi, this is Miss Sherby Hood. Hi, Sherby. This is Blake Osborne. I'm a volunteer with the Lowery Institute. How are you today? Okay, I was calling today because early voting in Virginia is in full swing, so we just wanted to make sure everybody has a plan to vote this year. Oh, fantastic. I will make sure I make that note. Thank you, man. We're so excited you plan to vote. Hope you have a great evening.
Hands, everybody. Hands, everybody. You got what it takes. 'Cause I'm pretty slow, and I want you to know that
These are the breaks. Make sure you take a break and make sure that you're registered to vote. Let's go.
Breaks on the bus, breaks on the car. Breaks to make you a superstar. Breaks to win and breaks to lose. These here breaks rock your shoes, and these are the breaks.
Break it up, break it up, break it up.
Yo, dope. With another man, and she runs off to them to Japan.
This song is funny.
And the IRS says they want that, and you can't explain why you claimed your cat. And Ma Bell sent you a whopping bill with 18 phone calls to Brazil, and you borrowed money from the mob. And yesterday you lost your job. Well, these are the breaks. Break it up, break it up, break it up.
Let's keep partying the right way. I'm feeling good on this Sunday. How y'all feeling? Make sure you get up and vote. Register to vote.
I'm playing the problems up on the shelf. The workday's over and I got it made. Like Johnny Kemp said, I just got paid and I'm ready to make young man single and free. Ready to get busy, down to party and have a good time. All I need is a partner in crime. Call up the homies and hope they might say they're down to paint the town red tonight. Look in the closet and pull out the hype gear. Hook up the high top fade and I'm out of here. To a disco or a party of some kind. Hope that I would find myself a good time. Before time and the night is done, man, I'm gonna have fun.
Ain't gonna hurt nobody.
Just dancing, y'all. Ain't gonna hurt nobody.
To vote right now.
Ain't gonna hurt nobody.
To vote right now.
Ain't gonna hurt nobody. If you're looking for more, step on the dance floor. Check your coat and your troubles at the door. Cause for sure you're gonna see
One time to my up top crew.
of the world seem miles away. The only thing that matters is a good time that can be had with the help of a good run.
Again, thank you for tuning in to Personal is Political. I am Dos Diaz.
So I just go on the world and say hi and tell her I'm the PLAY. And when she like to dance a while, I would anything to see her smile. You see, my job is to take her high. After a couple of songs, I'll inquire. Having fun? Well, I ain't done. The best is yet to come. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. Just dancing out. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. Out there on the floor. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. Just dancing, baby. Ain't gonna hurt nobody.
Had to play this for my mom right here. This is her favorite song. I see you, mama. Square biz, I'm talking.
Tell her this song. Finish.
I'm making my last call.
Go ahead, Miss Beamer.
Waiting for the call, like, hey. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Quentin available.
Yeah.
All right, well, I am calling. I'm a volunteer looking for him to get registered to vote, but I was wondering if not, are you registered to vote, and can I help you with that process?
Come on, DJ, bring it home. Bring it home.
Yes, sir. Well, I am writing that down, and do you all need anything to get into the polls, or can I help you vote early in person? Sir, you're my favorite caller today. I'm finishing with you because I want to finish on a high note. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I'm talking love. I'm sorry, y'all don't need to hear me singing. I'll leave that for the artist and leave that for everybody. I want to thank y'all. I want to thank everybody for coming out.
Right.
It's always great when you end on a good one, right? You feel very uplifted.
Yes. I mean, he said he was voting for sure for a certain candidate. Not that we're partisan, because we're not. But, it just was.
And you know what's interesting? I would say today the majority of my calls were people who knew what they were calling. They had already spoken to somebody. They were already planning to vote. And you love hearing the plan to vote. So if you're ready, if you're listening and you're create your voter plan. It's time to put it together. Figure out what you're doing. Ask yourself the important questions. Number one, am I registered to vote? Because as we heard today, if you're in Georgia, Arizona, and I'm leaving off 2 other states because I forgot them, but there were 2 other ones that you heard. Filter back to the conversation and you'll get them. But remember, the registration date is tomorrow. So you know what? No matter where you are, double check just to make sure you're on one of those lists and that you're registered by tomorrow. 4 weeks left. We're gearing up. Go ahead, Ms. Beamer.
And yes. No, well, you said step 1. We got to go to step 2. Step 2 is have your voter plan.
Yes. Are you planning to vote early? Are you planning to request an absentee ballot? If you are, the time is now. Go ahead and get that application, and you can find where you are. You can go to When We All Vote. They have links that will connect you to every state, so you can figure out if you want to request an absentee ballot. You can do that and go through the necessary steps. And the third is to then go do that step. If you're planning to early vote, go early vote. You're planning to absentee vote, put it in the mail. Or if you want to be like Miss Beeman and go ahead and vote early, and be able to brag that you've already done it with her vote shirt on, you can do that.
Yes, there are so many different states that have registration deadlines looming. They're coming. So I believe also in addition to the ones that Blake named, Florida, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, all the A's almost have their deadlines coming up. And of course, Georgia. But I think it's really, really important for us not to wait to the last minute, especially if you're sending things through mail. A lot of these processes you can do via online, virtual platforms. So we are aware that that's not accessible to everyone. So please take the steps to get registered. Go vote, as Blake is saying. Or plan your vote and then go out to vote. Our lives depend on it. Our future depends on it. Those of us who are carrying the torch are depending on you, and you are carrying the torch as you go to the polls. That is an act of resistance by showing up when people don't necessarily want you to. So we are grateful for you all for tuning in. This has been a 2-hour and 50-minute show, but we wouldn't do anything less for the Dr. Lowery and Mrs. Evan Lowery. We wouldn't do anything less. So for them, we are here.
Go bell your cats.
We're doing this work. So thank you.
Go bell your cats. We'll see you next time. Sunday supper. It's been a feast. I'm full. You should be full. I know Tyra's full. I see the look getting in her eyes. She's about to go to sleep. Thank y'all. Love y'all. See y'all next time. It's been a pleasure.
Love y'all. Yes, stay blessed.